The news that Han Fei entered the primordial tower spread like wildfire. At this moment, Han Fei was looking around the interior of the primordial tower. There was nothing special here. This was just a teleportation door, and its level didn't seem high. However, the teleportation door revealed some power of laws, which was very strong. The 6 portals were in 6 directions, and a trial door was closed. This should be the ultimate secret of the primordial tower. Among the 6 doors, only the 2 doors of the ominous battlefield and the Golden City had people entering and leaving. In front of these 2 doors, there was a stone stele with the names of the top 100 branded on it. On the ominous battlefield, one could earn resources, take trials, and also contribute to the myriad races, so most people entered and left the door of the ominous battlefield. When Han Fei walked to the ominous battlefield, many people took the initiative to make way, curious. When he came to the door, the power of laws intertwined and surrounded Han Fei's wrist. In the next moment, Han Fei felt a voice in his mind. Name. Are you the primordial tower? Yes. Anyone who enters the trial must leave their names. If you die, even if the entire world will forget you, I won't. Han Fei. Then, the law dissipated, forming a spiral mark on Han Fei's wrist. Han Fei could perceive it. As long as he activated the mark, he could be teleported. It seemed that the primordial tower was a little similar to the distanceless gate. They were very passionate about killing the ominous. It wasn't until everyone saw Han Fei step into the portal that there was an uproar. Someone asked in surprise, "Am I seeing things?" The human emperor wants to fight the ominous battlefield as soon as he comes? Could it be that he's just going to kill the ominous? Of course not. You are too weak, so I can't tell you. I can only say that Han Fei's only purpose in appearing in the primordial tower is to set a new record. How can an ordinary person break Li Daoi's record? This name has never been replaced since ancient times. Even if Han Fei is talented and grows quickly, can he break the record? What do you know? The demon purification pot is with him. I heard that the demon purification pot was originally meant for suppressing the ominous. I also heard that the demon purification pot is not complete yet. No matter what, we'll find out in a day. Do you think he can be on the list? I don't doubt it at all. After all, he is the owner of the demon purification pot. But it's hard to say how far he can go. When Han Fei appeared in the teleportation channel, the first thing he saw was a pale green seal that seemed to be a wall erected in the vast sea of stars. Behind the wall were tens of millions or billions of strong masters of the myriad races. On the other side of the wall, there seemed to be a sea. Han Fei could see a surging red nebula flowing. Countless ominous creatures were fighting the strong masters of the myriad races in the nebula sea. Swish swish swish. Behind Han Fei, figures were all here to watch the show. They wanted to see if Han Fei was as godly as the rumors said. Han Fei waved at this person. Brother, come here. Huh? Chen Mei was dumbfounded. He was here to watch the show, but he didn't expect to be called by Han Fei. He was excited and nervous. Greetings, Master Human Emperor. Han Fei asked, how should I address you? Ah. Chen Mei. Han Fei smiled and said, don't be nervous. It's my first time here. I want to ask you what this place is. It seems to be different from ordinary ominous battlefields. There isn't even a city here. Chen Meng felt honored to hear that Han Fei was asking him about something. He immediately raised his head and puffed out his chest, his face slightly flushed. Master Human Emperor, there is a city here, but it's not here. This place is indeed not a normal ominous battlefield. This is the Guardian Sea. The Guardian Sea? The Guardian Sea is a nebulous sea that protects the Sea of Stars. It's a natural barrier against the ominous. It's said that this is the border of the Sea of Stars. Have you seen that barrier? That's the embankment of the Guardian Sea. On the other side of the embankment, where the nebula flows, is the Guardian Sea. We shouldn't have seen this embankment, but in ancient times, a gap was broken through by the ominous. It's just this place. We need to plug this gap. A long time ago, when the West Wilderness was still. In the primordial era, the strong masters in the West Wilderness had been fighting here through the primordial tower. Therefore, this ominous battlefield can be considered the oldest super-large ominous battlefield. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. Didn't it mean that this battlefield had existed for endless years? Han Fei asked, "What's in the depths of the Guardian Sea?" Chen Meng shook his head. There is the Guardian City. Except for the Guardian City, the others may not be known until Master Human Emperor goes there. Our strength is mediocre, so we can only fight near the embankment. However, many immortals and even great monarchs are in the depths of the Guardian Sea. Han Fei, thank you. Ah, you're welcome, you're welcome. Han Fei didn't ask further. Yu Linka had said that there were endless ominous creatures on this ominous battlefield. However, as far as he could see, there were no powerful ominous creatures near the embankment, but occasionally several terrifying level ominous creatures appeared. And after checking most of the battlefield, Han Fei didn't see any destruction level ominous creatures. Therefore, this was clearly not the main battlefield. Therefore, there were some situations that Chen Meng couldn't explain, so he didn't ask further. Han Fei stepped on the air and crossed the embankment in the blink of an eye. What greeted his eyes was a war of tens of millions, or even billions of people. Clearly, besides the primordial tower, there should be other places that served as gateways to the Guardian Sea. Behind Han Fei, a group of people followed him. Countless people who were not fighting saw a large group of people following Han Fei and were a little curious. They couldn't help but look over. Han Fei didn't stop at all, but thousands of knife lights blooming with divine brilliance appeared around him. Swish! 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 The knife lights here all dispersed. Within 100,000 kilometers of Han Fei, all the ominous creatures were targeted by these knife lights. Puff, puff, puff. In an instant, tens of thousands of ominous creatures were purified by the knife light that emitted divine brilliance. Hiss! So fast. What a terrifying power of purification. Who is this person? Countless people exclaimed. After all, it was extremely rare for hundreds of thousands of long knives to slash into the Guardian Sea with one person. It wasn't that no great monarchs came to the Guardian Sea, but great monarchs usually entered the depths of the Guardian Sea directly. It was difficult for ordinary people to see them fight. Therefore, when Han Fei attacked, so many people were shocked. In fact, many of the ominous creatures that Han Fei killed were pollution level and corruption level. Occasionally, there were a few terrifying level ominous creatures. Many people who were fighting the ominous creatures felt that with a sweep of The light, the ominous creatures fighting them were inexplicably purified, leaving only an energy crystal. Many people didn't dare to take these energy crystals at first, but they discovered that Han Fei was walking very fast and had no intention of collecting these energy crystals at all. At that time, everyone hurriedly collected these energy crystals for free. The group of people who came with Han Fei to watch the show were overjoyed to pick up a pile of energy crystals. Sure enough, the human emperor is here to break the record. So strong. With a wave of his hand, millions of ominous creatures were reduced to ashes. Shit, he didn't wave his hand at all. Maybe the ominous creatures here are too weak. I don't know how far he can go. That's right. Real strong masters usually don't fight on the embankment. Even if Han Fei can kill all the enemies here, it's meaningless. Is he showing off? That's bull's it. He's opening a path. Look how fast he is. He directly opened a path in the Guardian Sea. I yearn for it. Han Fei didn't care about this remark. He wasn't interested in the energy crystals at the moment. Low-quality energy crystals were meaningless to him. In just a moment, hundreds of thousands of people followed Han Fei. Everyone followed the rules. The energy crystals would belong to whoever snatched them. However, as Han Fei moved forward, fewer and fewer people could keep up with him. From 100,000 people, it gradually became 10,000. When there were only thousands of people left, Han Fei saw a large number of ominous creatures rushing at him. Han Fei suddenly stopped and looked back at everyone. Everyone, if possible, don't follow me. Swish. 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 In addition to the thousands of knife lights, there were also a large number of life chains extending out of the void. Under everyone's stunned gaze, Han Fei killed his way into the group of ominous creatures alone. Soon, Han Fei's figure was covered by the nebula and disappeared from the crowd's eyes. Faced with ominous creatures below the destruction level, Han Fei could easily purify them without relying on the demon purification pot. In the Guardian Sea, Han Fei rushed all the way, but surprisingly, he didn't encounter a single destruction-level ominous creature until he perceived big stars floating in the stardust. And these big stars were filled with the power of purification. These floating purifying stars were like stars scattered across the sky. They were actually connected by chains that emitted the brilliance of purification, causing this Guardian Sea to seem to form a huge and dense star net. Occasionally, Han Fei could see ominous creatures crawling over from the star net one after another. Han Fei was full of curiosity. He had thought that the ominous battlefield was on the other side of the dam, but now it seemed that the ominous creatures. There seemed to be fish that escaped the net of stars. Someone had set up this exquisite star barrier. On these floating purifying stars, Han Fei also saw immortal level powerhouses. These people would occasionally attack and kill the immortal level ominous creatures who tried to pass the star barrier. Only then did Han Fei understand that this was probably the real battlefield of the Guardian Sea. Han Fei seemed to have thought of something and took out the vast ocean navigator. He recited it 3 times in his heart before the vast ocean navigator finally pointed. Only Lu Renquang is here? Han Fei was a little disappointed. He had thought that Xia Xiaochan and the other 2 would act together, but after trying 3 times in a row, he found that only Lu Renquang was on the ominous battlefield. However, it was better to have someone here than not. Han Fei continued forward. With the speed of the great monarch realm, he was very fast as he shuttled among the stars. Soon, he found an extremely magnificent city among the stars. From afar, it looked like a huge palace, emitting a milky halo. People often left the city and went to the depths of the Guardian Sea, and people often returned from the depths of the Guardian Sea. Han Fei came from the rear, so he didn't attract much attention. There was a city gate under the city, but no one was guarding the city gate. The words Guardian City were branded on the city gate. It was enshrouded in Dao runes. Obviously, a god had written it. No guards? Perhaps no one thinks that danger will come from the rear. But the moment Han Fei entered the Guardian City, he could perceive that 6 or 7 extremely obscure perceptions swept past him in a row. Gods? Han Fei's heart stirred. These perceptions were all different, but they were all in the realm of gods. The gods only scanned around with their perception and didn't communicate with Han Fei. Immediately afterward, Han Fei felt some perception sweep over. There were great monarchs and immortals. Obviously, there was no restriction on perception in the city. Many people might just look at him curiously. Fei Fei? Before Han Fei went to Lu Renquang, he had discovered him in advance. Han Fei followed his perception and saw Lu Renquang eating barbecue with a ferocious-looking guy on a large platform. Heh. Han Fei was speechless. Lu Renquang was still the same as before. No matter where he was, he could always make a few bites when he was free. Space changed, and Han Fei arrived in a few steps. Lu Renquang waved his hand excitedly. Fei Fei. Are you done cultivating in seclusion? Han Fei shrugged. I can't cultivate in seclusion all the time. Are you here for trial or food? Lu Renquang chuckled. Of course for trial, but I can't take it if I keep fighting. I just started to eat. Come and get a bite or two. At this moment, a group of people were staring at Han Fei. They naturally knew who Han Fei was. Now, who in the Sea Realm didn't know Han Fei's name? In the East Sea Divine Realm, he had killed more than 40 great monarchs. He was the one who caused the chaos in the South Sea and even killed 2 god-level powerhouses. Either identity of the master of the demon purification pot and the guardian of the divine prison was shocking. Han Fei had some impressions of a few of them. He had met them once in the god-ferrying ancient land. They were all strong masters of the god-slaying bandits, 2 great monarchs, and 23 immortals. Lu Renquang's strength had already entered the immortal level, but his realm was not stable yet. The laws he had stacked must not have exceeded 100. Seeing Han Fei walking over, the god-slaying bandits quickly made room for him. They were not afraid of Han Fei, but Han Fei had a good relationship with their young master. Greetings, human emperor. Everyone greeted him politely. A relatively elegant-looking middle-aged man stood up and cupped his hands. Then, he looked at the others and said angrily, "Why are you all standing here? Go eat elsewhere." Han Fei smiled and said, "No need. Now I no longer need to hide my identity. You don't have to be so polite." Hearing Han Fei's words, the middle-aged man smiled and said, "Human emperor, please sit down." Han Fei nodded slightly in response. Then, he saw a valiant-looking woman beside Lu Renquang, staring at him curiously and then blushing slightly. Han Fei was curious. Who is this? Lu Renquang's face was also slightly red. Well, Lin Ji, my young master, it's not easy for you to get a wife. What's there to be ashamed of? That's right. Our sister Lin Ji is the face of the god-slaying bandits. Ha ha ha. Someone cheered, and Han Fei patted Lu Renkuang's shoulder. Not bad. Kuang Kuang. You're finally enlightened. Lu Renkuang stuffed a few skewers into Han Fei's hand and then glared at everyone. What are you talking about? Then, Lu Renkuang said in a low voice, Lin Ji, my fiancé. Han Fei grinned. This was a happy thing, but at this moment, he was so poor that he definitely didn't have any gifts for Lin Ji. Han Fei said, it's a blessing for you that Miss Lin Ji took a fancy to you. When the Central Sea Divine Realm is pacified, you have to take Miss Lin Ji back to the human race and have children with her. Ah. Lin Ji blushed. She was good at fighting, but she really didn't know how to respond to these words. However, Lin Ji immediately raised her head and tugged at Lu Renkuang's arm. Did you hear that? I said that to you, but you refused. Smack. Han Fei slapped Lu Renkuang's head. You just don't know what's good for you. Hiss. Everyone thought to themselves, except for the leader, this person is probably the only one who dares to slap young master. After that, Han Fei nudged Lu Renkuang with his elbow. My daughter is very talented. You have to be quick. Lu Renkuang muttered, Xiao Bai hasn't had a child either. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Then introduce a man to her first. The two of them chatted for a while before Lu Renkuang said, Why are you out of seclusion now? I heard that you got many refined stars in the ferocious god Valley. I thought you would come out at least hundreds of years later. Alas. Han Fei sighed. You may not believe it, but I'm broke now. Heh. This time everyone curled their lips and rolled their eyes. It was already known that Han Fei had sold a bunch of captives and made a fortune. It was ridiculous to say that he was broke. Lu Renkuang was speechless. I've never seen you broke. Han Fei said, I'm really poor this time. Otherwise, do you think I would have come here? By the way, tell me about the situation in the Guardian Sea. I have to leave after the battle. Lu Renkuang raised his eyebrows. Why the rush? Han Fei said, I'm really poor. This place might not be enough for me. Lu Renkuang was a little surprised. He knew Han Fei well. He knew that Han Fei would never lie to him. Now that he had said that he was broke several times, it seemed that he was really poor. He said, Aren't hundreds of thousands of refined stars enough? Han Fei shook his head. Far from enough. This time, the elegant middle-aged man said, Has the human emperor cultivated the supreme divine technique? Han Fei didn't keep it a secret. In the West Wilderness, many people knew about the supreme divine technique. Everyone from the god-slaying bandits nodded, but they still didn't understand. Even if Han Fei cultivated the supreme divine technique, wouldn't the resources be used up too quickly? In 50 years, he had used up 500,000 refined stars, right? Didn't that mean he would have to use 10,000 a year? Lu Renkuang asked, How much do you need? Han Fei shook his head slightly. I'm not borrowing money from you. I want too much. You can't afford it. Lu Renkuang immediately tore off a piece of meat and said, You underestimate me, don't you? Lu Renkuang suddenly remembered that Han Fei had used more than 500,000 refined stars in the past 50 years and was discouraged. He couldn't even take out 100,000, let alone 500,000. Although there were many strong masters from the god-slaying bandits in the ferocious God Valley, he couldn't ask everyone to give him their resources. His master had recently disappeared, and he was at the critical period of law stacking. He had very few refined stars, less than 1,000, which were not even enough to fill the gaps between Han Fei's teeth. Han Fei smiled and said, "If you can get hundreds of thousands of refined stars yourself, I won't stand on ceremony with you. I won't take anything from the god-slaying bandits." "Okay, tell me about the Guardian City." "I'm going out to hunt." The god-slaying bandits were secretly relieved, fearing that Lu Renkuang would agree without hesitation. Even if they had no complaints, they couldn't gather more than 100,000 refined stars in total, which didn't mean much to Han Fei. And Han Fei said that he wouldn't take anything from the god-slaying bandits, which made them immediately like Han Fei more. Lu Renkuang didn't argue anymore. Instead, he said, "The Guardian City is not responsible for resisting the ominous, but for guarding the Skynet. You should have seen the purification stars on the way. These connected purification stars are called the Skynet. The Skynet spans nearly half a light year, but this is only the rear barrier of the Guardian Sea." Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. What a magnificent project. Was this set up by someone? Lu Renkuang nodded. It said that it existed in the primordial era. In front of the Skynet, there is also the star sea broken cliff. How should I put it? This is an inexplicable thing. You know my deep blue roar's black hole. Swallowing, right? Han Fei nodded. A very big black hole? No. The flesh on Lu Renkuang's face trembled. The Guardian Sea is a gap that connects to an unknown world. That gap is like a floodgate. The gap is not big, but the throughput is astonishing. Because of the spewing of this gap, it formed the Guardian Sea. But in the primordial era, or even longer ago, someone tried to cut off this gap to prevent the ominous from entering the sea of stars. He succeeded, but he didn't succeed either. Huh? Han Fei was quite shocked. To be able to form a floodgate of the Guardian Sea and cut it so easily, this strength was indeed unimaginable. Lu Renkuang continued, he succeeded because most of the ominous creatures were blocked on the other side of the star sea broken cliff. He failed because, after a long time of trying, the ominous creatures managed to pass the star sea broken cliff with the ominous power. It's equivalent to building bridges between the two cliffs. The ominous creatures we see now all come from those bridges. The bridges can't be destroyed? Han Fei's first reaction was to destroy those bridges, but if they could be destroyed, they would have been destroyed long ago. This time, the elegant middle-aged man said, they can't be destroyed. Countless people have tried it in ancient times. The three temples even took action in the past. It said that the battle was extremely fierce. The gods died, and the ominous died even more. In the end, the two parties were in a stalemate and formed a tacit understanding. As long as the ominous creatures didn't attack with all their strength, the strong masters of the Sea of Stars would not try to destroy the bridge. This tacit understanding has existed since the primordial era. The three temples took action? Han Fei was puzzled. If the three temples joined forces, wouldn't there be a dominator-level war here? In the end, they both took a step back. Han Fei asked, then what kind of strong masters will come over now? Lu Renkuang said, it depends on what kind of powerhouses take action. If we send a god-level powerhouse over, the other party will naturally mobilize doomsday-level ominous creatures. Of course, For someone like you who has the demon purification pot, if the doomsday-level ominous creatures don't come, you will easily launch a massacre on the ominous, so you will be directly recognized as God level. Heh, I didn't know my level was so high. Han Fei was speechless. He hadn't even fought yet, but he had already been recognized as a god. Come on, he was still far away from being a god. However, it seemed that senior brother Lei Heng, Yu Linka, and the others had clearly been recognized as god-level powerhouses. Was it because they had killed too many ominous creatures? Or was there a limit to the number of powerhouses on the ominous side? Okay. Since I'm already here, let me try. Crunch. Han Fei took a bite of the skewer, got up, and said, I haven't fought a doomsday-level ominous creature yet. I'm leaving. Lu Renquang quickly got up. I'll go with you. Okay. The god-slaying bandits immediately stood up. If Lu Renquang wanted to go, so did they. In the Guardian City, 7 god-level powerhouses were also looking at Han Fei. Someone said indifferently, is he the owner of the demon purification pot? He doesn't look special. I also want to see how far he can go. A goddess chuckled. Don't underestimate him. How can anyone weak survive? Until now with the demon purification pot in hand? Brother. I didn't expect to see him so soon. It seems that he has grown quite fast. Let's go. Since you want to see him, let's go. After leaving the Guardian City and flying in the Skynet for about an hour, Han Fei and the others finally came to the end of the Skynet. Further forward, they encountered a large number of ominous creatures surging towards the Skynet. Here, Lu Renquang said, from here on, we have to fight our way through. Otherwise, although there is a way to avoid these surging ominous creatures, when we reach the Star Sea Broken Cliff, we are very likely to be besieged. The ominous creatures above the destruction level are all intelligent. Han Fei nodded slightly. Then let's fight. If you can't keep up, don't follow me. The elegant middle-aged man said, I'll take young master there. You stay. Linji, I want to go too. Lu Renquang said, no, the Star Sea Broken Cliff is very dangerous. Linji immediately frowned. No, I want to go. Buzz. Suddenly, a man in green appeared beside them. Han Fei's heart stirred. So fast. When he realized what was going on, this person had already arrived. Immediately, the middle-aged man cupped his hands. Greetings, Lord God. The god-level powerhouse said carelessly, it's been a long time since anyone challenged the Star Sea Broken Cliff. I want to see it too. Since you want to see it, I'll take you there. Han Fei and this god looked at each other. He couldn't judge the other party's strength at all. He could only judge that this person was a god-level powerhouse from the faint divinity he emitted. The god glanced at Han Fei. Is the demon purification pot complete? Han Fei shook his head. Not yet. The god said regretfully, that's a pity. You can't break the record. Han Fei smiled and said, I'm not here to break the record. I'm here, to collect money. The god. Led by a god, in a moment, everyone stepped out of the void. Han Fei saw that in the Guardian Sea that should have been full of nebulas, there was a completely blank vacuum, filled with endless dark and deep space. In the endless dark sky, several areas enveloped by ominous mist could be seen. This area had been enveloped by another distant nebula. Outside the ominous mist, a large number of ominous creatures gathered. At every moment, a group of them rushed to the Skynet. Similarly, ominous creatures came out of the ominous mist at all times. Lu Renquang said, "Be careful. If you can't fight anymore, you can retreat to the Guardian City, or leave with the mark of the Primordial Tower on your wrist." Han Fei grinned and said, "I don't think that situation will happen. Let's see how many we can beat in a day." With that, Han Fei took a step forward. He didn't care that a god-level powerhouse watched him fight. He even knew that more than one god had come. Swish! In front of the ominous mist, countless ominous creatures were attacking continuously. Suddenly, in the sea of stars, a figure strolled over from the void, which stunned many ominous creatures. Immediately, 7 or 8 world-ending level ominous creatures rushed out in an instant. They knew that the strong masters of the myriad races who could come here alone must be very strong. However, the other party was only a great monarch, so they weren't afraid. Puff! 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 Unfortunately, before these 7 or 8 world-ending level ominous creatures could attack or unleash their full strength, they were instantly pierced by a green light. The vines of the demon purification pot bloomed in an instant, and the world-ending level ominous creatures exploded in the void like fireworks. Hiss! Lu Renquang couldn't help but sigh. No wonder countless people want the demon purification pot. You didn't even need to kill them yourself. Isn't it like picking up money? The middle-aged man next to him said, "It's not that simple. Even if the demon purification pot has all 9 vines, it's not absolutely invincible. There seems to be an upper limit to its killing, which is the short-term upper limit of the demon purification pot." Lin Ji also exclaimed, "That's like picking up money. The world-ending level produces a level 6 energy crystal. One can be exchanged for 10 refined stars. On the battlefield, the sudden death of 7 or 8 world-ending level ominous creatures immediately attracted the attention of a large number of ominous creatures. Immediately, a world-ending level ominous creature shouted, "Kill!" The ominous sound shook the sea of stars, and one swath of ominous creatures after another rushed at Han Fei. Among them, there were mainly terrifying level 1s and very few destruction level 1s. This was because ominous creatures below the destruction level had no independent consciousness. Even destruction level ominous creatures only had a little intelligence. They probably knew that now was not the time for them to take action. Han Fei didn't come here to set the record in the first place, so he didn't care if it was a terrifying level or a destruction level 1. However, even so, it didn't mean that any ominous creature of any level was qualified to challenge him. Swish! 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 In the void, life law chains appeared one after another. Puff! 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 Many terrifying level ominous creatures were pierced through without any time to flash. After all, terrifying level ominous creatures were only equivalent to the carefree level, and Han Fei was now a great monarch. He was on a completely different level from the carefree level ominous creatures. Therefore, when tens of thousands of life chains appeared, they pierced through thousands of terrifying level ominous creatures in the blink of an eye. And every ominous creature that was pierced by the life chains had no chance to revive at all, because their long river of life was blocked and their ominous bodies were purified. The law of life? Lu Renkuang and the others didn't know what method Han Fei used, but the 7 god-level powerhouses who came to watch were all shocked. A god said in an uncertain tone, "If I'm not wrong, that's the law of life. Right?" A god nodded. "That's right. Although I haven't come into contact with it. This is indeed the law of life." He forcibly takes the ominous vitality and has the extraordinary power of purification. I knew that the Void Temple wouldn't accept people so easily. This guy is indeed extraordinary. A god sighed. "I'm very curious. How did he comprehend the law of life in this era?" A god said, "Why do you think so many people are fighting for the demon purification pot? It's said that the demon purification pot will give birth to something called the dew of origin. This thing can evolve the great Tao of origin, the law of origin, a supreme nature treasure, and so on." I remember that someone once evolved a supreme nature treasure with the dew of origin. I didn't expect Han Fei to evolve a law. How bold. When this god mentioned the ability of the demon purification pot, the other gods present were stunned. They had never owned the demon purification pot and didn't know this. However, the dew of origin immediately piqued their interest. However, the god just now added, "Everyone, don't covet it. The demon purification pot seems to only give birth to one drop of the dew of origin after it changes hands. Not to mention that you can't get the demon purification pot, even if you can, it's a question whether you can wait until the dew of origin is born. It's very likely that you will be killed in a few days." A goddess also said, "His situation can't be replicated. It's not enough to just master the law of life. It can only make you stronger when fighting the ominous, but at other times, such as fighting the strong masters of the myriad races, the effect of the law of life is not so obvious." Outside the arena, Lin Ji tugged at Lu Renkuang's sleeve and said, "What kind of law chain is this? What a terrifying purifying power. A terrifying level. Ominous creature doesn't even have the ability to resist it." Lu Renkuang opened his mouth. "I don't know. Isn't he your best brother? I just don't know. We each have different opportunities. We haven't been together much recently. It's normal that I don't know." The other god-slaying bandits were dumbfounded. They had thought that young master's potential and aptitude were unparalleled in the world, but now it seemed that young master's brother seemed to be even more terrifyingly talented. If possible, they even felt that it was not impossible to change the young master. Puff. 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 When thousands of terrifying level ominous creatures were not even qualified to be killed by the demon purification pot, the world-ending level ominous creatures roared. Immediately, in addition to the terrifying level ominous creatures, a large number of destruction level ominous creatures entered the arena. Although these destruction level ominous creatures didn't seem to want to participate in the battle too early, in the face of the world-ending level ominous creatures' orders, with their underdeveloped intelligence, they still rushed out in groups. Sure enough, this time, although Han Fei could still kill some with the law chains, he couldn't block all of them. After all, the destruction level and the terrifying level were of different levels. He could kill dozens or even hundreds of them at the same time, but he couldn't kill tens of thousands at the same time. In just a moment, hundreds of thousands of ominous creatures dodged and attacked in the void. The demon purification pot finally showed its power at that moment. Around Han Faye, there was almost an absolute restricted area. Anyone who tried to step into this restricted area, be it terrifying level or destruction level, would be penetrated immediately. However, unlike Han Fei's previous battles, perhaps because there were too many ominous creatures on the Star-Sea Broken Cliff, there were naturally more ominous creatures gathering around. Originally, it would take Han Fei more than 2 hours to kill 50,000 ominous creatures. But here, in just half an hour, Han Fei had killed more than 50,000 ominous creatures, including more than 10,000 destruction level ones. However, the demon purification pot's killing speed began to slow down, and its efficiency kept decreasing. Lin Ji said, "Look, the demon purification pot seems to be reaching its limit. It can no longer kill in one blow." Lu Renkuang's expression was also ugly. Although the demon purification pot was powerful, it was indeed weak now. Not only could it not kill ominous creatures in one blow, but its speed had even decreased a lot. Lu Renkuang was about to shout at Han Fei, when the middle-aged man next to him said, "Young master, don't be hasty. It's impossible for the human emperor not to know the problem of the demon purification pot at this moment, but do you think he has any intention of retreating? No at all, so he still has other means that he hasn't used." Lu Renkuang was slightly relieved to hear that. Han Fei had many trump cards, which he completely believed. A moment later, when those ominous creatures could revive after being pierced by the demon purification pot, the hundreds of world-ending level ominous creatures that had been waiting for this moment seemed to see an opportunity and swarmed up, determined to tear Han Fei apart on the spot. However, the moment these hundreds of world-ending level ominous creatures appeared beside Han Fei, most of them were pierced by the demon purification pot. The demon purification pot's efficiency was declining, but these world-ending level powerhouses were too close to it and couldn't dodge. However, they felt that they didn't have to worry about the demon purification pot anymore, so they didn't care about being penetrated. However, the moment they were pierced through, they were surprised to find that although their ominous bodies dissipated, they couldn't recombine. A god couldn't help but sigh. He sealed the connection between the ominous creatures in that area and the river of life. Without the support of the river of life, these ominous creatures still have to die. This law of life is indeed terrifying. Buzz. It was also when Han Fei instantly killed nearly 200 world-ending level ominous creatures that the names on the stone tablet in front of the teleportation door of the ominous battlefield suddenly changed. A line of golden words was inserted into the list of the top 100. Han Fei, ranked 72nd, had killed 198 world-ending level ominous creatures and 15,200 terrifying level ominous creatures. Instantly, even the air in the primordial tower was hot, because the cool air was absorbed by countless people. Ferocious God Valley, Primordial Tower. When Han Fei's name suddenly appeared on the stone stele, it immediately caused exclamations. Someone exclaimed, "He's on the list. Human Emperor is on the list." Someone was surprised. "Isn't it too fast? How long has it been?" Someone sneered. "Is it strange for the Human Emperor to be on the list? He's the owner of the demon purification pot and is extremely powerful. Now he's a real great monarch. It would be strange if he isn't on the list." Someone was puzzled. "That's true, but the speed at which he got on the list is too fast. He killed nearly 200 world-ending level ominous creatures and jumped to 72nd place in one go." Someone said, "Don't look at the 200 world-ending level ominous creatures. First." In just a few hours, he killed 15,200 destruction-level ominous creatures, which are comparable to immortals. Everyone sighed. They really wanted to watch this battle. But they knew that even if they went, it was impossible for them to watch this battle, because the place where Han Fei fought was not something they could step into at all. In the waiting for someone tavern, Chu Hao sighed slightly. Unfortunately, I also obtained the demon purification pot back then, but I wasn't so lucky. Yulinka said, "This also shows the problem. You don't have enough luck, so you can't truly own the demon purification pot. People only know the power of the demon purification pot, but they have never thought that even if they were given some things, they wouldn't have the ability to take them." At this moment, on the Star Sea Broken Cliff, Han Fei had killed nearly 200 great monarch ominous creatures in an instant. But he knew that this chance was only once. At this moment, he isolated this place from the river of life. The small vines of the demon purification pot were still dancing, and they could still take away dozens of ominous creatures every moment. However, the world-ending level ominous creatures that hadn't arrived all stopped attacking. They weren't fools. Were they waiting to be harvested? Therefore, the battle returned to its previous state. However, the demon purification pot's vines killing efficiency had indeed decreased a lot, and their reaction speed was no longer so fast. After Han Fei killed more than 20,000 ominous creatures, the demon purification pot's killing efficiency on the world-ending level ominous creatures seemed to have dropped to the freezing point, less than half of its original level. Therefore, more and more destruction-level creatures could avoid the demon purification pot's vines. In addition to the demon purification pot's vines, Han Fei also needed to rely on the life law chains and thousands of purified knife streams to continue the large-scale killing. After realizing this, a world-ending level ominous creature finally ordered the terrifying level ominous creatures to quit the battle, and a large number of destruction-level ominous creatures rushed up. Swish! 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 Puff! 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 When tens of thousands of destruction-level ominous creatures attacked at the same time, the law chains and the purification knife light alone couldn't withstand the charge. Boom! Thousand thunder flash erupted, and tens of thousands of lightning marks were jumping on the field. Soon, amidst the flashing lightning arcs that filled the sky, destruction-level ominous creatures were killed by Han Fei one after another, because they couldn't keep up with his speed. At this moment, Han Fei's combat efficiency could be said to have dropped by more than 10 times. Outside the arena, the middle-aged man beside Lu Renquang sighed. The demon purification pot is much less efficient. If this goes on, this battlefield will be surrounded. I'm afraid it's impossible to break the record. Lin Ji said, but he's still very powerful. He fought tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of ominous creatures alone. Under such circumstances, he can still fight. He can be considered a genius. Lu Renquang didn't panic at all at this moment. He even took out some skewers and ate them while watching. Lin Ji asked, "Hey, how can you be in the mood of eating?" Lu Renquang bit off a piece of meat and said, "What I'm afraid of is that he will enter a stable state in battle. In this case, he may have to fight for a long time." For a long time? They didn't know much about it, but people's energy was limited in the end. Even great monarchs were no exception. They knew that Han Fei could fight, but they weren't sure how long he could fight. In theory, as time passed, Han Fei's combat power should continue to decline. At this moment, the space where Han Fei was filled with energy crystals. But he had no time to take them. At first, no one understood what Lu Renkuang meant. They all felt that once the ominous creatures blocked the 10,000 lightning marks, Han Fei would probably be in a predicament. In fact, those destruction-level ominous creatures did do that. Every time Han Fei used the Thousand Thunder Flash, a large number of destruction-level ominous creatures would block the Thousand Thunder Flash. At first, Han Fei dodged the battles with thunder jumping and killed some terrifying level ominous creatures along the way. Realizing this, the terrifying level powerhouses seemed to have received some kind of order. Every time, 2 or 3 of them would surround a lightning mark. Just like at this moment, as soon as Han Fei appeared from the lightning, 3 terrifying level ominous creatures attacked at the same time. Han Fei raised his hand and brandished his sword. 3 terrifying level ominous creatures were purified in an instant. At this moment, a world-ending level ominous creature suddenly attacked, turning its ominous power into black needles that filled the sky and shot at Han Fei. Han Fei reacted extremely quickly. He pushed back, and a light of purification appeared in front of him. The black needles fell like rain, but none of them could break through this light of purification. Then, Han Fei flicked his finger, and a knife light filled with the light of purification counterattacked. At that moment, the world-ending level ominous creature wanted to retreat, but he found that Han Fei's knife came too fast. It was so fast that he could only cut part of his body to avoid this blow. However, at the moment he dodged out, Han Fei flashed and appeared beside him, activating the law of time. This world-ending level ominous creature froze for a moment and was pierced by the knife light the next moment, turning into nothingness. In the eyes of others, Han Fei was naturally powerful. In just 2 moves, he killed a world-ending level ominous creature. But in the eyes of those world-ending level ominous creatures, Han Fei found that this person's combat efficiency had decreased too much. This meant that Han Fei was not invincible at this moment. Besides, at the moment they fought, the demon purification pot's vines didn't even have the time to attack. Therefore, another 100 world-ending level ominous creatures attacked. Sure enough, this battle became a chase. After fighting for a full hour, Han Fei only killed more than 40 world-ending level ominous creatures in the end. This was the manifestation of his current combat power. Although his basic combat power had already exceeded that of an ordinary peak-level great monarch, the world-ending level was comparable to that of a great monarch. After all, it was already very powerful that Han Fei could kill more than 40 of them in an hour. If it weren't for the law of life, he might not have been able to kill even half of them. In the battle, Han Fei had already recalled the small vines of the demon purification pot. After observing Han Fei for several hours, the ominous side mobilized hundreds of world-ending level creatures again, trying to trap Han Fei. However, at the moment when these world-ending level powerhouses attacked, a glint flashed in Han Fei's eyes. As the lightning on the surface of his body rumbled, this swath of sea of stars was immediately filled with lightning arcs, and the lightning arc deceleration domain was activated. The speed of all the ominous creatures here suddenly slowed down by more than 50%. At this moment, the small vines of the demon purification pot attacked again. And the hundreds of world-ending level ominous creatures here were tricked. Again and pierced through in the blink of an eye. Heh. A god shook his head slightly. This kid is quite cunning. He held himself back until now. A goddess said, in the end, it's because he's weak that he needs to play these tricks. The hour just now showed his real strength. A god shook his head slightly. He's still a little weak. If that's the case, I'm afraid he won't even be able to enter the top 10. On the god-slaying bandits' side, Lin Ji and the others were refreshed the moment they saw Han Fei erupt. Lu Renquang still didn't react much as if he had expected this. Besides, he didn't think Han Fei didn't have any more means. On the stone steel of the ominous battlefield in the primordial tower, Han Fei's name slowly rose to 64th place. Suddenly, it jumped by 16th place and became 48th, causing another wave of discussion. So fast. He's already in the top 50? He killed more than 100 world-ending level ominous creatures at once. He must have used some special method, right? Someone sighed. Although this speed is already very fast, it's still incomparable to Li Daoi's data. Besides, unless Human Emperor suddenly kills hundreds of world-ending level powerhouses again, it's a question whether he can enter the top 10. That's true. Indeed, it's probably difficult for him to break the record. While many people were feeling a little regretful, Han Fei was harvesting the ominous creatures in the lightning arc deceleration domain. In addition to killing more than 100 world-ending level ominous creatures, he also killed more than 10,000 destruction-level ominous creatures. Besides, he also collected the scattered energy crystals. Han Fei sighed slightly. In fact, at this moment, he no longer had the means to suddenly kill a large number of world-ending level powerhouses. Perhaps the creation chessboard could, but it was too wasteful to use it here. However, he didn't care, because he was here to earn money, not to break the record. At this moment, the world-ending level ominous creatures that had been tricked twice finally became smart and stopped attacking in large numbers. Without a large number of world-ending level powerhouses taking action, the pressure on Han Fei was greatly reduced. After harvesting the ominous creatures in the lightning mark deceleration domain, Han Fei activated his original Great Dao without hesitation, and his combat power quickly increased by 3 times. Because his strength was improving too fast, his physique couldn't keep up. Han Fei couldn't care less about the strengthening of his physique now. However, 3 times his combat power was enough. At this moment, Han Fei felt that he was unparalleledly powerful. Around him, a large number of destruction-level ominous creatures were still charging at him. But this time, the speed of the life law chain soared as if dancing wildly in the sea of stars, so the destruction-level ominous creatures that approached him were instantly purified and didn't even have the qualifications to resist. Han Fei had experienced the immortal level. Even if he was at the peak of the immortal level, his combat power was only 5,000. However, now that he had 180,000 star powers, his combat power had soared too much. Huh? A god suddenly said, "Is this a secret method, or what?" A god said, "The supreme divine technique doesn't have this move. It should be a secret technique." The others didn't respond, because they weren't sure. At this moment, Han Fei stepped in the air, and the surrounding destruction level ominous creatures exploded one after another like fireworks. His goal turned out to be the ominous mist. Finally, a world-ending level powerhouse took action. Although they knew the danger, they couldn't retreat. A world-ending level ominous creature charged at full speed, its palm turning into a black blade. Han Fei simply clasped the void with one hand, and space shattered, turning into a knife stream that poured out. Puff. 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 The world-ending level ominous creature was cut into powder in the blink of an eye. It was rolled up by the purification power emitted by Han Fei and immediately died on the spot. On the god-slaying bandit's side, Lu Renquang murmured, "That's it. This is his real strength." Lin Ji and the others were all dumbfounded. On the battlefield, Han Fei would definitely kill anyone he attacked, be it destruction level or world-ending level. At the same time, among the hundreds of thousands of ominous creatures, a divine will bloomed behind Han Fei. Under the protection of the light of purification, everyone below the god realm was like ants. This time, Han Fei had been charging for more than 6 hours. Countless destruction-level ominous creatures had died at his hands, and more than 200 world-ending level ominous creatures had died. At this moment, countless people had gathered under the primordial tower. On the stone steel, Han Fei's kill count was changing every second. He's 12th. Although there's not much time left, it doesn't seem to be a problem for him to enter the top 10. Look, there are more than 500 world-ending level kills. The most terrifying one is the destruction level ones. He has already killed more than 50,000 of them. In terms of destruction level kills alone, Han Fei is already ranked 6th. Look, he's ranked 11th. It was noisy under the primordial tower. On the battlefield, Han Fei didn't seem to be tired at all. Finally, he caused the ominous mist to tremble. Something seemed to be unable to sit still in the darkness. A huge dark claw extended out of the ominous mist, which was 1,000,000 feet long. The giant claw grabbed at Han Fei, and the space along the way faintly cracked. Doomsday level. Han Fei had seen doomsday level ominous creatures more than once. This level was not something he could shake for the time being. The moment the giant claw appeared, Han Fei knew that this battle couldn't be continued. Tens of thousands of lightning marks spread out, and tens of thousands of life law chains in the void buckled the giant claw. The giant claw clenched into a fist and seemed to crush the space. From its palm, a terrifying purgatory swept in all directions, and the life law chains began to shatter under the impact of a large amount of ominous aura. In the end, none of the tens of thousands of law chains could be attached to this doomsday-level creature. At this moment, most of the other party's body was about to rush out of the ominous mist. Han Fei took a deep breath and the blood sky blade appeared in his hand. He made a posture of drawing his broadsword. In an instant, he gathered all his strength on this broadsword, and all laws fused, shining brightly. Swish. An extremely dazzling knife light slashed at the huge body that was hundreds of thousands of feet long. As for the head of the doomsday-level ominous creature, at this moment, it had already extended out of the ominous mist. Its twisted and irregular head, its big mouth like a black hole in the abyss, and its sharp teeth condensed from darkness. Seeing Han Fei's slash, the doomsday-level ominous creature didn't dodge, but met it with a palm. Crack! 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 When the knife light that should have been invincible touched the ominous power of that level, it was like water and fire blending, producing sizzling sounds. One of the fingers of the doomsday-level ominous creature was cut off. However, that was all. The knife dissipated in the end, and the broken finger recovered in the blink of an eye. And the palm continued to slap at him. without being stopped. Bang! Han Fei was sent flying at 1,000 times the speed of light, leaving a long, fiery mark in the sea of stars. Puff! After more than 3 seconds, Han Fei finally stabilized himself, but his body was already dripping with blood. The wheel of life behind him bloomed with brilliance and quickly repaired Han Fei's injuries. Sure enough, facing an ominous creature at this level, unless my original Great Tao is fully activated, I can't resist it at all. Different from the strong masters of the Time Temple, they could use time and ancient lives to fight doomsday-level ominous creatures as great monarchs. However, Han Fei was still not strong enough. Even if he fully unleashed his strength, it was still not enough. It was not that his laws were not strong, but that he was no match for a doomsday-level ominous creature in terms of absolute strength. Although the gods didn't speak, they were still quite surprised that Han Fei could withstand this blow. As for the god-slaying bandits, the middle-aged man beside Lu Renquang sighed. It shouldn't be possible for Master Human Emperor to kill this doomsday-level monarch, but he is already powerful enough. Lei Hing used to try 6 times before killing a doomsday-level ominous creature, but he stayed in the great monarch realm for a long time before taking action. How long has it been since the human emperor advanced to the great monarch realm? To be able to achieve such a battle record is already enough to shake the sea realm. Lu Renquang narrowed his eyes. He's almost as strong as the old man. The middle-aged man smiled and said, not yet. However, it's hard to say if we can let Master Human Emperor grow up for a while longer. Han Fei tapped his foot and charged out again. This time, he turned into a Tai Chi diagram and slashed at the doomsday-level monarch. As for the doomsday-level ominous creature, it raised its hand and punched, colliding with the Tai Chi diagram with a vast ominous mist. Bang! The Tai Chi diagram collapsed, and Han Fei was sent flying again. One of the doomsday-level ominous creature's fists was cut off. At that moment, Han Fei tried to extract the doomsday-level ominous creature's vitality, but before he could cut off the other party's river of life, his law of life was forcibly shaken away by an invisible force. The doomsday-level ominous creature didn't stop. It spewed out a sword pillar that arrived in an instant and almost nailed Han Fei into powder. A time river appeared around Han Fei, and as the river rolled, thousands of Han Fei seemed to appear, attacking at the same time at different time nodes. In this way, Han Fei managed to barely take this blow. This time, when Han Fei appeared, his body was shining with golden light, and his invincible golden body was full of cracks. The sword pillar was clasped by countless time chains and failed to hurt Han Fei in the end. I quit. Han Fei shouted. Although he still had the strength to fight, it was unnecessary, because with his current strength, he couldn't kill this thing at all. Han Fei stopped and shouted as he retreated, "Brother, go back." The doomsday-level creature still wanted to continue attacking, but the god beside Lu Renquang and the others had already appeared on the battlefield. He said leisurely, "You're at the doomsday level after all. Do you want to bully the weak?" The doomsday-level ominous creature shouted angrily, "This person has combat power comparable to a god. Be asterisk shit." The god raised his hand, and a 10,000-foot-long, divine sword hung high in the sky. "I told you to retreat." The doomsday-level ominous creature took a deep look at Han Fei with its dark pupils and finally said, "You can't win with the calabash." Han Fei smiled and said, "That's my business. Next time I come, I'll still fight you as a great monarch and kill you." Humph. The doomsday-level ominous creature ignored Han Fei and gradually retreated into the ominous mist. Behind Han Fei, the wheel of life spun, and his injuries were covered by 70 or 80% in the blink of an eye. After Han Fei retreated, Lu Renquang said a bit enviously, "When I stack more than 100 laws, I'll go to your origin star to cultivate in seclusion." Han Fei grinned and said, "Okay." Then, Han Fei cupped his hands at the god-level powerhouse and said, "Thank you for your help, Senior." The god smiled faintly. "He attacked because we acquiesced. In fact, he shouldn't have attacked in the first place. Your secret technique is very powerful." Han Fei was stunned. These gods didn't know that it was his original great Tao operating? Han Fei replied with a smile, "Unfortunately, I'm no match for him." The god shook his head slightly. "You're already good enough. I look forward to your next visit." With that, the god waved his hand and led everyone away. After a while, they returned to Guardian City. Han Fei was thinking about something. This was the first time a god-level powerhouse had taken him to walk. He was touched. This didn't seem to be because the gods were fast, but because they had mastered a higher level of power. Besides, the place they walked wasn't reality, but a place similar to the void world. Unfortunately, he wasn't a god yet, so he couldn't touch the way of movement at this level for the time being. After returning to the Guardian City, the god left without communicating much with Han Fei. The first thing Han Fei said was, "Quang Quang, how can I exchange my energy crystals for refined stars?" Lu Renquang said, "Actually, it's not worth it." Han Fei said, "But I have to do it." Lu Renquang said, "Come with me. There is a special resource exchange place in Guardian City." After a while, Han Fei came to an independent small palace in the Guardian City. He saw an old man in the great monarch realm sitting on a chair at the door, reading a book. Lu Renquang said, "This is Senior Li, the resource operator of the Guardian City." The old man also raised his head, looked at Han Fei, and couldn't help but ask, "I'm also very curious. How many ominous creatures has Human Emperor killed?" Although no one went to the Star Sea Broken Cliff to watch the battle, the fact that Han Fei dared to challenge the Star Sea Broken Cliff was enough to make everyone curious. Not only this old man, but Han Fei sensed hundreds of gazes looking here. Han Fei shrugged slightly. 548 level 6 energy crystals, 61,012 level 5 energy crystals, and 44,110 level 4 energy crystals. Hiss. In the dark, many great monarchs were stunned. Is this person so strong? It hasn't even been a day, but he has killed so many? Someone smiled bitterly. Another rancor? These people are really monsters. Someone sighed. This is 100 times stronger than the last person who came to break the record. Someone sighed. It seems that I have to go back to the Sea Realm to understand the current situation of the Sea Realm. We don't even know when such a person appeared. The old man in front of the palace was also taken aback for a moment before he smiled. Impressive. Han Fei said, "You flatter me. Senior Li, how can I exchange for resources?" The old man smiled and said, "Level 4 energy crystals require 10 to exchange for 1 refined star. Level 5 energy crystals require 2 to exchange for 1 refined star. Level 6 energy crystals can exchange for 10 refined stars. Isn't this ratio too much of a loss?" A level 6 energy crystal was a world-ending level ominous creature's product, equivalent to a great monarch. But 100,000 good refined stars could be dug out from a great monarch's origin star, but this energy crystal could only be exchanged for 10. That was 10,000 times less. The old man said leisurely, after all, the ominous creatures don't have origin stars. Besides, the energy provided by energy crystals is relatively monotonous. In all aspects, it's much worse than refined stars. Therefore, it can only be in this ratio. Of course, if you want to use it yourself, although the effect of energy crystals is not as good, if you take time to adjust, the effect is not bad. How is it? Do you want to exchange them? Han Fei thought for a moment. This old man was right. Although energy crystals were not bad, they were far inferior to refined stars. The supreme divine technique was known as the star-devouring technique. Star devouring was the main method to practice it. Han Fei gritted his teeth and said, yes, everything below level 6 energy crystals. As for the level 6 energy crystals, Han Fei planned to keep them, because when his soul power was to be greatly improved, he still needed the ownerless souls in the energy crystals. Old Manly laughed. Little friend, you're straightforward. I'll give you 31,000 refined stars. Another moment later, Lu Renquang and Han Fei were walking on the road of the Guardian City when he said, as I said, it was a loss. Han Fei said, it doesn't matter. Although it's not much, it's actually a lot. I'll come a few more times in the future. How can it be so simple? You've already been targeted by the doomsday level ominous creatures. Next time you come, you definitely won't be able to hunt so many unless you can resist the doomsday level ominous creatures while killing them. Han Fei. After more than 10 seconds, Han Fei said, sure enough, money comes faster from robbery. Han Fei's eyes became firmer. Finally, he seemed to have made up his mind and said, Fatty, I'm going back to the ferocious God Valley. Lu Renquang was lost for words. You're back already? You're not fighting anymore? Han Fei said, no, as you said, I definitely won't be able to get so many next time. Then what's the point of fighting? Lu Renquang seemed to have guessed what Han Fei was going to do and hurriedly said, you're trapped in the ferocious God Valley now. Where can you rob? Han Fei grinned and said, who told you that the ferocious God Valley can trap me? Lu Renquang's eyes glittered. Take me with you. Han Fei immediately shook his head. No. The place I'm going to is too dangerous. I can only go alone. Lu Renquang's face immediately sank. Where? The Central Sea Divine Realm. Under the Primordial Tower. The crowd was discussing. Huh? Why is the ranking not moving any longer? Human Emperor has already reached the 11th place. Why did it suddenly stop? Can't he fight anymore? That's not right. According to Human Emperor's fighting style, I'm afraid a doomsday-level ominous creature has come out, so he can't continue fighting. Will he stop at the 11th place? Buzz. While everyone was discussing, Han Fei came out of the Primordial Tower with a swish, only to find that there was already a sea of people here. Countless people looked at Han Fei with excitement in their eyes. Han Fei glanced back at the list. It was normal for him to be ranked 11th. Although he felt that his strength had improved greatly and he had countless treasures, he was still inferior to a peak-level extreme Dao Great Monarch. In the Great Monarch realm, the gap between the lower limit and upper limit of strength was too vast. He had just advanced to this realm, so it was still not easy for him to catch up in decades. Swish. Han Fei ignored the people who came to visit and came to the waiting for someone tavern in the blink of an eye. However, when Han Fei came here, he found that the tavern was also full. Many people even began to greet him. The Human Emperor is awesome. Master Human Emperor, may I ask if you came back because a doomsday level ominous creature came out? A female monarch said, Master Human Emperor, I'm a humanoid. I can enter the human race. A big demon called out, Master Human Emperor, our race has a peerless beauty, whose beauty is unparalleled in the sea realm. We have admired you for a long time. Someone hurriedly said, Master Human Emperor, are you going to establish a bandit organization? We've been bandits for many years and are quite strong. For a moment, there were all kinds of voices. The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched slightly, and he cupped his hands. Everyone, within 1,000 years, I'll be focused on breaking the records. And have no interest in anything else. Sorry. Then, Han Fei looked at Yulinka, who pointed at the stairs on the second floor. The tavern was not big, and the second floor was never open to the public. Han Fei quickly went to the second floor. He didn't have the time to deal with so many people. On the second floor, Han Fei found that this was a place of winemaking. There were all kinds of liquors being brewed. If it were Fifth Senior Brother, he would definitely like this place. However, he was not Fifth Senior Brother and was not very interested in wine. Yulinka's voice sounded behind him. Han Fei looked back, only to see that Yulinka had also walked up. Han Fei asked, Sister-in-law, aren't you downstairs to receive the customers? Yulinka said, one clone will do. Han Fei thought that it made sense and immediately asked, where is Chu Hao? He couldn't bear the disturbance, so he went out for a stroll. Han Fei thought to himself, this guy is so comfortable. He's still in the mood to shop. Yulinka asked, did you get the money? Han Fei shrugged. A little. Sister-in-law, I want to ask you something. Yulinka came to an elegant tea table on the second floor, where tea was being cooked. Seeing Han Fei's confusion, Yulinka said calmly, he likes to drink, while I like to drink tea. Han Fei thought to himself, then you two are really different. With that in mind, Han Fei smiled and said, it's good to drink tea. Amidst the bustling world, 3 cups of wine, for the eternal undertaking, a pot of tea. If you enter the Void Temple, you might have greater achievements than Fifth Senior Brother. Yulinka smiled. You really know how to talk. Tell me, what do you want to ask? Han Fei immediately said solemnly, Senior, I want information about the Central Sea Divine Realm. No matter which force it is, the more, the better. Han Fei knew that Yulinka must have this kind of information. Although this information could probably be bought in the Ferocious God Valley, it was probably impossible to buy a lot of it. Besides, the cost was huge, and he might not be able to afford it. However, the divine descendants had been lying low for so long, waiting for an opportunity. As long as their bloodline recovered, they would definitely take revenge on the forces that had once hurt them in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Therefore, the divine descendants must have a lot of information about the Central Sea Divine Realm, which was beyond doubt. Huh? What do you want to do? Han Fei smiled without saying anything. Yulinka frowned slightly. Do you have a way to leave the ferocious God Valley? How can you leave the ferocious God Valley under such circumstances, the distanceless gate? But the distanceless gate doesn't seem to be used by individuals, right? Han Fei said indifferently, that depends on what I'll do. If everything I do is for a better tomorrow, to kill more ominous creatures and even save all living beings from fire and water, what reason does the distanceless gate have to refuse? Yulinka was silent for a moment. She raised her hand, and a massive number of jade slips floated in the air. She said, this is the information about dozens of divine races and more than 1,000 forces in the Central Sea divine realm. It was collected bit by bit by the divine descendants over the past 100,000 years. Wow! The divine descendants are really generous. Yulinka snorted. Some debts have to be paid. We just need to wait for the right time. Han Fei didn't stand on ceremony with Yulinka. This information was probably priceless. He immediately scanned the thousands of jade slips with his perception, and all kinds of information flashed crazily in his mind. No, information about the small and intermediate forces is not very valuable. Superpowers such as the primordial divine academy, the divine demon forest, the sky spider worm valley, the ancient demon race, and the chaotic divine race are forces that I can't step into at all. If I go there, I'll be courting death. Suddenly, Han Fei was stunned. Sister-in-law, are there so many gods in the large forces in the Central Sea divine realm? Yes, Han Fei discovered that those large-scale powers, such as the Fist sect, the Flying Immortal Tower, the Light City, the Mirage sect, and the Thousand Phenomena sect, all had gods guarding them, but they were hidden extremely well. Yulinka said, otherwise, do you really think a mere great monarch can establish himself in a place like the Central Sea divine realm? However, you don't have to be afraid of these gods. There seem to be many of them, but they have been hiding for so long and won't easily expose themselves, so gods generally won't take action unless they are exterminated or threatened. Han Fei counted. In this case, excluding those super forces, there were nearly 20 god-level powerhouses in these large forces alone. It didn't seem to be much, but this was the sea realm. It wasn't the sea of stars. The sea of stars was boundless, but the sea realm was only this big. Most strong masters of the sea realm were fighting in the front line in the sea of stars, but they could still hide so many god-level powerhouses, which showed their deep heritage. Han Fei continued to flip through it. After nearly an hour, Han Fei finally came up with a few options. Fist sect, Jade Cauldron sect, Thousand Phenomena sect, Heaven Concealing divine race? Yulinka frowned slightly. Han Fei's choices were beyond her expectations. These four were all large forces. Han Fei's goal was self-evident. Yulinka asked, do you want to give it a second thought? Han Fei shook his head slightly. I've read their information. These families are all the focus of the investigation of the divine descendants. They all concluded with absolute certainty that their families have and only have one god-level powerhouse guarding them, while the information about the other families was inferred and not certain. Therefore, I don't want to bet on luck. Yulinka said, since you're so confident, I won't stop you. However, aren't you going to try the other trials? Han Fei shook his head. It's meaningless to go to the other trials now, except to waste time. What I need is not combat skills, divine techniques, mastery of laws, or comprehension What I need is to become stronger. Han Fei knew his current situation very well. Before he became a great monarch, although the supreme divine technique had obvious effects, it was completely different from the experience he had when he was a great monarch. It could be said that all the hardships he had suffered before he became a great monarch had paid off the moment he became a great monarch. That was to devour stars crazily and quickly become stronger. As for the precipitation of strength, he wouldn't think about it until he reached a certain level. Han Fei cupped his hands. Sister-in-law, speed is the most important in war. I won't stay long. Yulinka nodded slightly. Be careful. Buzz. Han Fei directly entered his origin star. He wasn't worried that something would happen to Xia Xiaochan and the others in the ferocious God Valley. He knew very well how capable they were. Besides, they were protected by the primordial tower in the trials. There couldn't be a god-level powerhouse who broke into the protection range of the primordial tower and killed them. This was meaningless to those gods except to anger him. Creation Divine Prison. When Han Fei came in, the old man immediately said, Han Fei, how is it going? I heard that this so-called West Wilderness is in chaos now, and divine battles have broken out several times. Are my divine descendants okay? Heard? Han Fei looked at the two great monarchs who had been imprisoned in the Creation Divine Prison a few years ago. At this moment, they were tortured beyond recognition. The old man had been trapped here for so long and could only listen to them. Han Fei chuckled. Senior, I'm here for you. Huh? Okay. The old man seemed a little excited, thinking that Han Fei was going to let him out. Han Fei came to the depths of the monarch's jail, pushed open the cage door that suddenly appeared, and stepped through the darkness. His eyes suddenly lit up, and he heard the sound of water splashing, which was the sound of waves gently surging. Han Fei scanned around with his perception. This was actually a huge sea, spanning tens of thousands of kilometers. There were actually many creatures in this sea, but they were just the most ordinary creatures without any cultivation. In the tide, above the waves, Han Fei saw a hale and hearty old man standing there, looking at him with a smile. The old man's beard and hair were all white, but there were no wrinkles on his face at all. Apart from his beard and hair, people would believe that he was a spirited 30-year-old. Ha ha ha. I finally see you. After endless years, I finally see a living person. Han Fei smiled. Senior, we finally met. I still don't know your name. The old man stroked his beard and said, have you finally remembered to ask? I'm the formerly famous divine master, Qiu Wanren. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Why don't you call yourself Qiu Qianren, note, a famous figure in a Chinese wuxia novel? Before he could complain, Old Fierce complained, Divine Master my ass. How many people have been harmed by your damn theory that cultivators don't need the body? If it weren't for this, you wouldn't have been locked up to suppress the bloodline of the divine descendants? Hey, Wu Jiuxiong, don't mention that. You're too much. Old Fierce snorted again. That's the truth. You pointed countless people in the wrong direction. I changed it. Heh. Han Fei was shocked and couldn't help but ask, cultivators don't need the body? What kind of theory is that? Qiu Wanren curled his lips. That's a mistake I made in the past. The ominous attacked in the past, and I tried my best to find a way to create the Tao of pure soul. I thought that the Tao of pure soul would be stronger than the extreme Tao of soul refining. But in the end, alas, the further cultivators take this Tao, the more ruthless they become. The gods are ruthless, treating mortals as ants and trampling on them wantonly, destroying all living beings. Han Fei's heart stirred. Well, Senior, do you know the eternal race? Qiu Wanren curled his lips. I already know the details from the two people outside. Yes, the rise of the eternal race is based on my pure soul Tao. However, I had already discovered the drawback of this Tao and didn't spread it out. Therefore, someone in the eternal race probably created a stronger path based on my pure soul Tao. However, the foundation of this Tao is wrong. So the stronger the cultivation technique they created based on this, the crookeder the path they will take. In the end, it was still me who caused this trouble. Shoot. Han Fei was shocked. The eternal race used to be the soul race and had existed since the chaotic era. However, they rose after the primordial era. To be precise, they rose in the age of gods. If they were really so powerful, they should have risen long ago. They didn't have to rely on the bloodline divine tree. Now, he finally understood. It turned out that someone had provided them with a way to become stronger, so they had come to this point. Seeing that Han Fei was shocked, Qiu Wanren hurriedly said, however, fortunately, only one scum, the eternal race, appeared. When I go out and catch a few eternal race people and study them carefully, I will definitely be able to find their flaws and break their technique. Now, let me go out first. Han Fei came back to himself and the corner of his mouth twitched. Senior, let's not talk about catching the eternal race for now. The top priority is to restore the bloodline of the divine descendants. However, I'm not here to let you out, but to ask you to help me. Qiu Wanren's face darkened when he heard that. I can't go out yet? Han Fei said, Senior, the two outside don't know anything about the situation in the West Wilderness at all. If I let you out now, I guarantee that you will be killed in less than a day. Nonsense, I'm the Divine Master. Although I haven't advanced to the god slaying level, not everyone can touch me, okay? Han Fei asked, can you beat two god slaying level powerhouses? Han Fei quickly explained the situation in the ferocious God Valley, and Qiu Wanren asked, so, you're trapped now? Han Fei said, not to that point. I can still use the distanceless gate. Qiu Wanren asked, the distanceless gate follows the rules very well. Can you use it? Han Fei said, I'll be the main force to resist the ominous in the future. It can make an exception for me, can't it? Otherwise, if I can't grow up, it will suffer even more losses. That's true. Qiu Wanren asked, then what do you want to do now? Han Fei asked, aren't you very strong? Can you help me kill a god? Qiu Wanren said, being able to defeat and being able to kill are two different things. Tell me about the strength of that god. Although I haven't fought for a long time, there aren't many gods who can stop me. Han Fei smiled. That's exactly what I want. If you really can't kill him, it doesn't matter. Help me hold him back and catch him into the creation divine prison. That's fine. This is much simpler than killing a god. Han Fei said, Senior, wait for my news. By the way, after this battle, I'll let you out. I hope you can advance to the god-slaying level as soon as possible. Qiu Wanren was delighted. That's great. With a god-level powerhouse supporting him, Han Fei was immediately confident. In the Sea of Stars, Han Fei activated the token and summoned the distanceless gate. Swish! The distanceless gate was as fast as ever. In the blink of an eye, it appeared beside Han Fei, and Han Fei said, "Old distanceless, thank you. This time, I have to go to the Central Sea Divine Realm." The distanceless gate, okay, I'll send you to the ominous battlefield first. Han Fei said, "Wait a moment. I just came back from the Guardian Sea. I killed 548 world-ending level ominous creatures, 61,012 destruction level ominous creatures, and 44,110 terrifying level ominous creatures. That's more than 100,000 in total. Old distanceless. I know it's not easy for you, but look. The stronger I am, the more ominous creatures I will kill. Think about it. If I become a god in the future, I can easily kill 1,000,000 ominous creatures. This will all be thanks to you. The other distanceless gates are really incomparable to you." The distanceless gate trembled slightly, and words immediately appeared on it. "Let's go." Han Fei grinned. "Send me to the sea near the heaven-concealing divine race in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Don't be discovered. The distanceless gate, as long as I want, no one can find me." "That's good." Buzz. In the Central Sea Divine Realm, a vortex gate opened on a cliff at the bottom of the sea. Han Fei walked out of the door and couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know who created the distanceless gate. This thing was really awesome. Old distanceless, thank you. I'll definitely kill another 100,000 ominous creatures next time. The distanceless gate disappeared. Han Fei put on a smile, turned into a black fog in the blink of an eye, and disappeared. Half a month later. Under the furious waves, in a group of undersea mountains, 3 sea beasts were cruising here. When the 3 sea beasts came to the undersea mountains, a spatial rift suddenly appeared. The 3 sea beasts rushed into the rift in the blink of an eye. There was no seawater here at all. Instead, there were clouds and mist, celestial mountains floating, and gulls flying in the sky. A long staircase led straight to the sky. As soon as they entered, the 3 sea beasts turned into human forms who wore silver masks in the blink of an eye. The leader was an immortal level powerhouse. This person led the other 2 carefree level cultivators up the stairs without a word until they came to a transparent barrier. As green light appeared on the 3 of them, a hole appeared in the barrier, and they entered safely. At that moment, Han Fei saw floating islands. Weren't they floating islands? However, under these floating islands, there were complicated patterns. It should be some kind of mountain protecting barrier. On these floating islands, most of them were relatively ordinary people. Mostly strong masters, below the sea establishment realm. The divine race had a large population. In terms of prosperity, although it couldn't compare to the human race, it still had a population of 10 billion. At this moment, the 3 of them were in a hurry. They crossed the cultivation places of ordinary people and entered the depths of the heavenly hidden divine race, crossing the second barrier. And in this barrier, the population plummeted. It seemed that only those above the sea establishment realm were qualified to come to the second barrier. However, starting from the second barrier, Han Fei found that everyone here was wearing masks. As expected of the divine race that specialized in concealment. They were so cautious. Even their own people might not know who the people around them were. Therefore, these people used numbers to show their identities. Instead, in the outside world, they didn't wear masks, because in the outside world, they could be anyone. Han Fei was curious. Although he wanted to take a good look at the heavenly hidden divine race, he couldn't release his perception at this moment. It wasn't until Han Fei, who attached himself to the immortal level powerhouse, past the third barrier, that he confirmed that the real powerhouses of the heavenly hidden divine race were inside the third barrier. This was because the spiritual energy here was 1,000 times that of the outside world. Even sea establishers were not suitable to cultivate here. However, for cultivators above the star transformation realm, this was the most habitable place. Of course, there were actually very few of them. No matter which race it was. The structure of the population was always an inverted pyramid. The stronger they were, the fewer there were. The immortal level powerhouse in the lead flew across the sky and came to a floating island. Patriarch, I'm back. Come in. The immortal level powerhouse had to unlock more than 10 layers of mist in a row to open a way. Han Fei was speechless. Wasn't it enough for these people to wear masks in their own houses? Did they have to be so cautious? After a while, Han Fei finally saw the patriarch of the heavenly hidden divine race. He was wearing a golden mask and sitting on a golden chair, holding a weapon that looked like a demon vanquishing pestle. The patriarch asked, 17, how's the investigation going? The person Han Fei possessed said, Patriarch, we found nothing. This person is very powerful. I set up layers of ambushes, but didn't catch him. He seemed to know that I was coming. The patriarch snorted coldly. In just half a month, our race has lost 187 peak-level late-stage star transformation realm and perfected star transformation realm cultivators, 8 Tao-proving realm cultivators, and 3 carefree level cultivators. You told me that you didn't find anything. It seems that there are strong masters targeting our heaven-concealing divine race. The immortal level monarch said, Patriarch, please forgive us. But the point is that the enemy seems to have a way to crack our secret technique. If we let this person escape unpunished, I'm afraid the strong masters of our race will be on tenterhooks when they go out in the future. Patriarch, should we ask the people of the Thousand Phenomena sect to help? You don't have to worry about this matter anymore. I've already arranged for someone to invite Master Tianxiong from the Thousand Phenomena sect. You can leave now. Yes, Patriarch. At this moment, even the Patriarch didn't notice that a black fog had already floated down from this person. After 17 left, the golden-masked Patriarch suddenly said, Old 8. Come out. A great monarch appeared from the void world. He was also wearing a silver mask, but there were golden patterns outlined on the silver mask. Clearly, he had a higher status than 17. Old 8 shook his head slightly. 17's bait should have been seen through. Or maybe, the other party doesn't have the strength to take down 17 and the others, so they chose to give up. I'm more inclined to the former. Oh? Then you didn't feel anything wrong from the beginning to the end? Old 8 shook his head. No. I don't believe that the other party didn't find 17 and the others. Since the other party can accurately hunt the whereabouts of the strong masters of our race, he must have a way to find them. Therefore, I'm more inclined to believe that the other party is a powerful soul cultivator. He should have sensed my existence, but I didn't sense him. Humph. A cold snort came from under the golden mask. Forget it. Since you can't catch that person, let's wait for another half a day. When Master Tianxiang arrives, I'd like to see where that person can hide. As soon as the patriarch of the heaven-concealing divine race said so, some ferocious laughter sounded. Sorry, you can wait for half a day, but I don't intend to wait. Who is it? The patriarch of the heaven-concealing divine race, and Old Eight's expressions suddenly changed. They couldn't believe that someone could appear here silently without them knowing. If there was really such a person, how strong was he? At the moment Han Fei spoke, Old Eight was punched through, and his body was almost completely crushed. Han Fei had been waiting for this moment. He needed someone to take him to the core of the heaven-concealing divine race. As Old Eight said, Han Fei had long discovered him, so he didn't pretend to take the bait or harvest the fish this time. He just followed him all the way to the core of the heaven-concealing divine race. As long as he came in, Han Fei didn't intend to take it slow. This was because he knew that the heaven-concealing divine race had a god guarding them, so the slow method wouldn't work. Once he attacked a great monarch or an immortal level powerhouse in the territory of the heaven-concealing divine race, the patriarch of the heaven-concealing divine race might not discover him, but that god would definitely discover him. Therefore, now was the best time to attack. Bang! Old Eight was punched through, and at the same time, Han Fei had already slashed at the patriarch of the heaven-concealing divine race. At this moment, Han Fei's original Great Tao was fully activated, his combat power was nearly 200,000 star powers, and his soul power was also extremely powerful. Even as a patriarch-level powerhouse, even if the other party was a peak-level extreme Tao powerhouse, it was impossible for him to react instantly. Furthermore, this slash was launched from behind him. The latter had no time to react as a high-quality nature spiritual treasure-level battle suit appeared on his body. Clang! Clang! Puff! When Han Fei's blade fell, under the influence of temporal manipulation, it was equivalent to 2 slashes. In addition to the battle suit, there was also a jade plate blocking behind the patriarch. It should be a soul-suppressing spiritual treasure. Even so, many parts of the patriarch's body exploded. After all, not everyone had Han Fei's physique. Although the heaven-concealing divine race was also a divine race, they were best at concealment and disguise. They could be very outstanding assassins, but they were definitely no match for body refiners, especially when they were approached. After this slash, the other party knocked the demon-vanquishing pestle in his hand on the ground. Just as he was about to awaken some kind of array, Han Fei smiled. Steal. This time, he didn't steal the demon-vanquishing pestle in the other party's hand, but directly used it on the other party. Without the protection of a soul-suppressing spiritual treasure, Han Fei didn't believe that anyone in his same realm could completely block the void stealing technique, even if it was only for an instant. Sure enough, the patriarch felt that his consciousness was a little blurred. At this moment, the creation divine chain had already swept over. Bang! A powerful soul power soared to the sky. When the patriarch reacted and saw the creation divine chain, he naturally knew who this guy was. Although he was shocked, at this critical moment, he had no time to think. He didn't even have time to dodge the attack of the creation divine chain. Therefore, his first reaction was to shake this place with his soul power to attract their god to take action. In fact, there was no need for him to summon the god at all. A divine might spread here. Who dares to break into our heaven-concealing divine race? The divine might enveloped this place, but the power of divinity couldn't shake Han Fei. The god pointed at Han Fei, trying to kill him with one blow. But at this moment, the law enforcement divine chain had already clasped the patriarch of the heavenly concealed divine race. Han Fei looked at the god who appeared and put on a faint smile. Ka ka ka. The creation divine prison appeared, and Qiu Wanren appeared with his hands behind his back. In front of him, the divine finger shattered. Qiu Wanren greedily breathed the air here. At that moment, all the spiritual energy in the heaven-concealing divine race seemed to stop flowing in an instant, all surging towards Qiu Wanren. It's great. I can finally see the light of day again. This wonderful feeling makes me miss it. The god of the heaven-concealing divine race shouted, "Who are you? Don't you know that the strong masters of the Central Sea divine realm have joined forces? If you dare to attack our heaven-concealing divine race, don't even think about escaping from the Central Sea divine realm." Hee hee. A group of brats trying to threaten me. You participated in the siege of our divine descendants, right? Today, my retaliation will begin with you. In Han Fei's ears, Qiu Wanren said, "Han Fei, you solve the others here. Leave this little god to me." Han Fei said, "Senior, you must keep him here. I'll help you later." All of this happened in a flash. Old 8 was blown up. Because the vitality here was controlled by Han Fei, he hadn't recovered yet. As for the current patriarch of the heaven-concealing divine race, he was ambushed by Han Fei. Although he might not be weak, he was caught by the law enforcement divine chain before he could do anything. After taking down two great monarchs at once, Han Fei smiled. These were two considerable resources. Under the envelope of the creation divine prison, golden inscriptions appeared. They were a series of sins of the patriarch of the heaven-concealing divine race. Han Fei said, "Bailey Chantu, you once assassinated the strong masters of the myriad races 15,201 times, allowed your clansmen to hunt the strong masters of the myriad races, and deprived other races of their luck 107 times. You've committed heinous crimes. I find you guilty. You will be imprisoned for 12 million years, burned by hellfire for 100 years, and whipped 16,000 times. Do you have any objections?" When Han Fei read the punishment of Bailey Chantu, he was a little stunned. This punishment was probably no better than the death penalty. Being burnt by hellfire for 100 years? This was the first time he had seen someone who would have to be burnt by hellfire for so long. Besides, the detention time had reached 12 million years. If the creation divine prison was full now, this guy would definitely be executed immediately. I have no objection. Of course, Bailey Chantu didn't dare to have any objections. If he defied the creation divine prison, he would only be subject to additional punishment. He only hoped that their god could take down the other party, or the matter of the heaven-concealing divine race would attract the attention of other races and send strong masters to help. As long as Han Fei was killed, the creation divine prison would be ownerless again. And this was the Central Sea divine realm. With the creation divine prison here, there must be countless strong masters from the Central Sea divine realm trying their best to inherit the creation divine prison, and then he might have a chance of survival. Buzz. After Bailey Chantu said that he had no objection, Han Fei didn't look too Good. He had planned to use the creation divine prison to catch these guys first and then take them away. But now it seemed that this method was inappropriate, because once the creation divine prison took action, these people would almost never be able to come out in the short term. It was almost impossible to auction them out. Although he was the guardian of the divine realm, he couldn't change the rules of the creation divine prison. If he wanted to release them, he could only let these people take action by issuing missions. If they were willing, he could slowly mitigate their crimes. However, Bailey Chantu, this B***starred, was sentenced to 12 million years of imprisonment. How much contribution did he have to make up for the 12 million years of imprisonment? Therefore, after Han Fei collected Bailey Chantu, his eyes suddenly turned cold. At this moment, two more great monarchs rose to the sky in a row in the heaven, concealing divine race. Han Fei's heart turned cold at this moment. He raised his hand and directly extracted Old Eight's vitality. Lock. Yes, Han Fei gave up the plan of capturing them. Since these people couldn't be sold, it was completely meaningless to keep them. A great monarch would have a lot of resources. If he stripped their origin stars clean, he could get 100,000 or more refined stars from each of them. However, at this moment, he couldn't kill them yet. If he killed them now, it would cause astronomical phenomena. This was the Central Sea divine realm, so it would definitely attract the attention of everyone. Perhaps the gods of other forces would really take action. After extracting 99% of Old Eight's vitality, Han Fei sealed him in place. At this moment, the other two great monarchs of the heaven-concealing divine race were shocked. Wasn't that where the patriarch was? Did something happen to the patriarch? Also, why did their god take action? They were still stunned. At this moment, they didn't think of escaping. After all, this was the territory of the heaven-concealing divine race. Even if someone broke in, their god should be able to solve it. However, the two of them saw tens of thousands of lightning marks suddenly appear in the sky and rush at them, which made their expressions change drastically. Someone was shocked. Is this the Thousand Thunder Flash? Lei Heng? Because everything happened too quickly, they didn't know that it was Han Fei. But neither Han Fei nor Lei Heng was someone they could resist. At least, if they weren't at the peak of the extreme Tao, they wouldn't have been able to resist Han Fei today. Boom. Boom. After only one clash, one of them exploded. His soul-suppressing spiritual treasure was forcibly suppressed in Han Fei's hand, and all the surrounding laws stopped and were controlled by Han Fei. Not only that, but the vitality here was sealed. Anyone who was penetrated by Han Fei couldn't be revived with laws and energy unless Han Fei was willing to release vitality. At this moment, the other person realized the severity of the situation. This guy suppressed a great monarch in a single clash. This was not an enemy he could resist. This person immediately broke through the entrance to the void world, but before he could completely enter, he found that his body was retreating, and blue time power flowed around him. As a great monarch, although Han Fei hadn't fully mastered the law of time, it wasn't a problem for him to reverse time within a small range. Who the hell are you? This great monarch was shocked. This guy could use both the Thousand Thunder Flash and the law of time, and punched through a great monarch with a single blow. How could such a strong master suddenly descend to the heaven-concealing divine race? But what responded to him was the full-strength slash of the blood sky blade. When the power of all laws appeared on the knife light, the great monarch, who hadn't broken free from the law of time, could only bite the bullet and fuse. With his companion spirit, a turtle, he put on armor and tried to block this blow with his soul-suppressing spiritual treasure. However, when he did all this and tried to break through the law of time with the power of his laws, he was shocked to find that someone was competing with him for the power of his laws. It was at this moment that the laws lost control, causing him to lose his last chance to resist. Puff. With a slash, the mid-quality nature spiritual treasure controlled by this person was cut apart by the blood sky blade. At the same time, the power of this slash was still powerful, destroying more than half of his body. Han Fei raised his hand and the god-sealing spears stabbed down densely, sealing the location of the two great monarchs. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Only 4? The last one is lucky. According to the information given by Yulinka, the heaven-concealing divine race had 5 great monarchs. It wasn't that they didn't have many great monarchs, but that there were already a lot of them. If it weren't for the 2 conscriptions in the sea of stars within 100,000 years, the heaven-concealing divine race would have had more than 10 great monarchs, or even more. Han Fei chose to attack the heaven-concealing divine race mainly because this force's disguise ability was too good. If everyone knew the divine concealment technique and didn't have the ability to see through illusions, you couldn't recognize these hidden strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race at all. In particular, with the turmoil in the West Wilderness, the heaven-concealing divine race must have sent many people to pretend to be strong masters of various races and blend in. At the critical moment, these were all traps. Of course, Han Fei had his own selfish motives. Han Yu had reported when he was cultivating that the heaven-concealing divine race had once tried to attack Yi. This was the fundamental reason why Han Fei chose them. This time, Han Fei took advantage of the time when the heaven-concealing divine race was the busiest to attack them. Firstly, he wanted to rob them. And secondly, he wanted to make the strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race in the outside world dare not to attack the human race anymore. Their home was gone. No matter how strong a soldier was, as long as he showed up, even if he wasn't caught, he would probably be in danger and wouldn't dare to attack again. At this moment, Han Fei looked at the battle between Qiu Wanren and the god of the heaven-concealing divine race. The god's divine blood poured out, and divine blood gurgled out of his 7 orifices. And in the void, in all directions, there were thousands of Qiu 10,000 feet standing proudly in the void. Every one of them had silver light bursting out of their eyes. So powerful! Han Fei exclaimed. As expected of a big shot who could indirectly create the technique of the eternal race. He didn't even see Qiu Wanren move, but the latter had already forcibly suppressed a god. Han Fei scanned around with his perception and tried to find the treasury of the heaven-concealing divine race, but he only found some small resource warehouses. There didn't seem to be any large treasury. Therefore, Han Fei immediately took out the vast ocean navigator. He still remembered the purpose of this trip. In addition to revenge, he was mainly here to rob. However, the direction of the vast ocean navigator was a little confusing. The heaven-concealing divine race had treasure houses, not just one, but as many as 100. Therefore, the vast ocean navigator pointed everywhere. However, real good things shouldn't be placed so scattered. Then, these hundreds of treasure houses should also be resource warehouses. At this moment, the four great monarchs of the heaven-concealing divine race had all been taken down, but the noise caused was not small. His/just now caused the void in the three barriers to tremble. Anyone in the monarch realm should know that something had happened. However, they didn't know what was wrong, so soon Han Fei saw a group of masked guys flying over. Han Fei ignored him and directly broke through the void and entered the void world. At this moment, Qiu Wanren had turned into thousands of clones and was chanting some kind of incantation. Within the range of the incantation, there seemed to be heavy blows between the heavens and earth that crushed down. As for the god of the heaven-concealing divine race, there was a golden toad lying on his head. The golden toad raised its head and kept croaking as if it was resisting the attack of the incantation. The god didn't stop either. Qiu Wanren had thousands of clones, and each of them was attacking, while the god of the heaven-concealing divine race was dealing with the attacks of these clones with all his strength. Han Fei looked at Qiu Wanren. This old man had been suppressed for so long, but he was still so strong the moment he came out. What about old Fierce, who was suppressed on the third level of the creation divine prison? Besides, from what they said, there was another strong master on the fourth level of the creation divine prison. If this was the case, wouldn't that person have the strength of a dominator? He didn't know if the creation divine prison could suppress a dominator level powerhouse, but it wouldn't be a problem for it to suppress the god in front of him. Qiu Wanren couldn't help but sigh when he saw Han Fei. This kid was quite impressive. He hadn't reached the immortal level when he subdued the creation divine prison last time, but now he had suppressed four great monarchs in the blink of an eye. The law of life? Qiu Wanren turned his head and took a deep look at Han Fei. Han Fei, now wait for the right time to take action. The god of the heaven-concealing divine race looked awful. Are you human, Emperor Han Fei? Han Fei smiled. Yes? The god said coldly, aren't you afraid of the revenge of the strong masters of our heaven-concealing divine race? How can your human race resist them? Our race has more than one god. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. Your words remind me. In that case, I'll just have to kill them one by one. The god's heart turned cold. Humph, the two of you want to take down our heaven-concealing divine race? Don't forget, this is the territory of our heaven-concealing divine race. I'd like to see what you've got. Buzz. Although this god was no match for Qiu Wanren, a green jade plate appeared in his hand and emitted light. At that moment, all the arrays in the heaven-concealing divine race were activated, and a massive number of mysterious patterns surged out of the green jade plate and covered the entire body of this god. Divinity spewed out of this god's body, and the suppressing pressure here soared, and this person's strength also began to soar for some reason. Seeing this, Qiu Wanren looked calm and even showed a trace of disdain. He had wanted to slowly obliterate the other party's soul, but he didn't expect this person to forcibly fuse with the luck veins of the entire heaven-concealing divine race and forcibly devour the heavenly Tao laws of this space. Qiu Wanren shouted, even if you completely carry the power of this world, you can't exert it. If you can't comprehend it, you won't be able to enter the god slaying level. You are just a small god after all. With that, a boundless phantom appeared behind Qiu Wanren. This phantom kept growing larger and larger, and in the blink of an eye, it reached 100,000 feet, 1,000,000 feet, 1,000,000 feet. Han Fei took a deep breath and looked at the magnificent soul shadow. wondering if this was King Dharma idol or something. Immediately afterward, Chiu Wanren's voice rumbled between the heavens and earth. With my soul, I command the world and bestow a divine burial on you. Han Fei felt an invisible pull smashing down from the sky. Bang! With just one blow, the void around this god all shattered. Although the strength of the god of the heaven-concealing divine race soared, he was still blasted hundreds of millions of kilometers away by the instant impact. At this moment, Han Fei realized how terrifying the attack of a god was. Everything in the world seemed to have turned into Chiu Wanren's power, and countless laws were crushing him. But even so, the god of the heaven-concealing divine race quickly stabilized himself. An ancient god? I'd like to see whether the ancient god or the current god is stronger. 10,000 flowing lights. One law arrow after another darted at Chiu Wanren at tens of thousands of times the speed of light. Bam! 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 It was like stars exploded around Chiu Wanren, but he didn't move at all. He raised a hand and pressed down. Turn the sky upside down. Han Fei felt that the world was reversed, and this space seemed to be folded by some force. The laws between the heavens and earth instantly lost control. And the law arrows all shattered. Chiu Wanren crossed billions of kilometers in one step and waved his hand, shouting, "Sky overturning." As Chiu Wanren shouted, the sky extending billions of kilometers began to collapse. The god of the heaven-concealing divine race seemed to fall into a vortex surrounded by broken voids, accompanied by the rampaging law of space. This place was filled with infinite tearing power, as if it wanted to tear the god of the heaven-concealing divine race apart. In fact, half of the flesh and blood of the god of the heaven-concealing divine race had indeed been torn apart, and there were only bones filled with divinity left in some parts of his body. However, this world of the heaven-concealing divine race gave him extraordinary recovery ability. His body seemed to have fused with this world. But before he fully recovered, he discovered that his body was recovering, but his vitality was blocked and flowing away crazily. The law of life? The god saw a wheel of life appear behind Han Fei, crazily absorbing his vitality and sealing the connection between this place and the river of life. Seeing this, the god cut off one of his arms. His arm turned into a torrent of laws, forcibly dispersing Han Fei's law of life. And his palm turned into 5 arrows that shot at Han Fei. Chiu Wanren was about to help, when Han Fei held a chessboard with his left hand and picked up a chess piece with his right hand. Pa! As the chess piece was placed, a huge chessboard appeared under Han Fei's feet, and Han Fei was standing where the chess piece was placed. Clatter. On the chessboard, nebula flowed like seawater, and huge waves surged. Puff. 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 The arrows formed by the god's hand shot into the nebula wave in an instant. They seemed powerful, but the 5 arrows finally dissipated 30 feet in front of Han Fei. At this moment, Chiu Wanren's incomparably huge Dharma idol began to put his hands together, and between his palm was the god of the heaven-concealing divine race. The second piece that Han Fei had just raised didn't fall. At this moment, the god of the heaven-concealing divine race was like an ant, and Chiu Wanren's Dharma idol's palms were like mountains. Seeing this, Han Fei thought that he had really underestimated Chiu Wanren. He had thought that the other party was definitely not that strong since he wasn't at the god-slaying level. But now he knew that not only the god-slaying level, but the gods themselves could also kill gods. Bang! Chiu Wanren put his palms together, and a terrifying power escaped from between his palms. However, there was still a buzzing sound coming out from between his palm. With such a loud noise, someone must have sensed it. Now is your only chance to escape. Qiu Wanren ignored him and looked at Han Fei. Han Fei took out the law enforcement divine chain and drilled into the Dharma idol's palms. When the Dharma idol dissipated, the god of the heaven-concealing divine race had already been tied up, and the creation divine prison hung high above his head. Golden words appeared in the air, and Han Fei said, "Bailey Qing Feng, you have avoided fighting the ominous 7 times, assassinated the gods of the myriad races 11 times, and deprived other races of their luck 354 times, condoning your clansmen to oppress other races. You've committed heinous crimes. I find you guilty. You will be imprisoned for 21 million years, burned by hellfire for 198 years, and whipped 66,000 times. Do you have any objections?" Bailey Qingfeng's heart sank when he heard this. Although he wanted to refute, he didn't dare to, because he knew the consequences of refuting. "I have no objection." Han Fei grinned. "Don't worry. I'll keep my promise. Your clansmen are mine." Bailey Qingfeng's face suddenly changed, and he shouted, "How dare you? You're causing a civil war. The strong masters of our race will return and fight you to the death." Han Fei sneered. "A civil war? Your heaven-concealing divine race is one of the troublemakers. If we eliminate you, the internal strife will be gone. As for the strong masters of your race, are you stupid? How can they come back from the Sea Star battlefield easily? If they could come back, nothing would happen to the miracle forest. If they could come back, the divine descendants would have long been gone. If they could come back, how could the Central Sea divine realm dare to command the 4 divine realms? So bye-bye." Bailey Qingfeng was taken into the creation divine prison, and Qiu Wanren frowned slightly and said, "Han Fei, are you going to slaughter the entire heaven-concealing divine race?" If Han Fei answered yes, it would make things difficult for him. If he did that, what was the difference between Han Fei and these people from the Central Sea divine realm? Han Fei smiled and said, "Senior, you're thinking too much. I want to take them away, but it doesn't mean I want to slaughter them. The heaven-concealing divine race has been established in the Central Sea divine realm for many years. Because they were born with the concealment technique, they have actually been a thorn in the flesh of all the races. After all, no one wants the people and their families to be disguised by the heaven-concealing divine race. In fact, it's very likely that the heaven-concealing divine race has already done so, so the major forces in the Central Sea divine realm don't dare to rashly take away the heaven-concealing divine race, or it might cause a series of unpredictable disasters. Now, I'll take them away. Perhaps it's for their own good." Qiu Wanren asked, "Then how are you going to deal with them?" Han Fei smiled and said, "Sell them. I won't kill them, but it doesn't mean that these people are good people. The heaven-concealing divine race has contributed a lot to the misery of the divine descendants. According to my intelligence, it was because a member of the heaven-concealing divine race pretended to be a divine descendant that the divine descendants were completely exposed, leading to a massacre 100,000 years ago." Hearing this, Qiu Wanren's eyes widened. "Really?" Han Fei said, "It's true. I'll show you the information someday." Qiu Wanren nodded heavily. "Okay. In that case, we can't let the heaven Concealing divine race off easily. It's fine to sell them, but we can't sell them casually. I'll study them later, break the inheritance in their bloodline, and sever this technique from now on. Let them become an ordinary race. This is the long-term solution. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Can you do that? Qiu Wanren chuckled. Otherwise, why do you think the divine descendants became like this? Why do you think I'm the one guarding the bloodline of the divine descendants? There were many people stronger than me in the past. Why? Is it me? Han Fei raised his eyebrows. If that's the case, can you break the bloodline inheritance of all the divine races? Qiu Wanren said, theoretically speaking, as long as it's a bloodline inheritance, it can be broken. However, some inheritances are hidden too deeply, so it's difficult to deal with. But everyone in the heaven concealing divine race knows the concealment technique, which means that this technique is hidden very shallowly. With my ability, it shouldn't be difficult. Han Fei asked, how long will it take for you to crack the other party's bloodline and extract this bloodline inheritance? Qiu Wanren immediately put on a confident smile. 3 years at most. I can't guarantee anything else, but I dare not say that no one has ever done this before, but I'm definitely an expert on this. I'm very experienced and few people can compare to me in this field. Besides, the bloodline inheritance of this race is too popular, so it's easy to deal with. Han Fei immediately grinned and said, then I'll have to trouble you for this. Qiu Wanren laughed. There's no time to lose. Let's not talk about this for now. I'll help you catch these people first. At this moment, the strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race, who didn't know what had happened, were still dumbfounded and wanted to ask the patriarch about the situation. But when the power of divinity swept across the 3 layers of the barrier, these monarchs were all horrified. However, just as they were about to retreat, the entire array of the heaven concealing divine race was activated, and infinite power drilled into the void world. They were also temporarily trapped in the 3 barriers. When everything died down and they thought it was over, they saw a figure appear in front of them. Han Fei didn't hide his identity at all. Instead, he walked out of the void world openly and said with a smile, everyone from the heaven concealing divine race, you have been abducted by me. If you don't want to die, stand where you are and don't move. Don't lose your lives for nothing. It's not worth it. However, no one would listen to Han Fei at this moment. Stand still and wait. For you to capture us? Do you think we are idiots? Instantly, more than a dozen immortal-level powerhouses ran away. Since Han Fei appeared openly and came from the patriarch, something must have happened to the patriarch. However, Han Fei's suppressing pressure and unparalleled killing power shocked them. In the blink of an eye, a swath of lightning marks flashed. Puff! 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 In just a moment, all 12 immortal-level powerhouses were nailed to the spear by Han Fei. As for the Tao-proving level and carefree level cultivators who were still trying to escape, for some reason they couldn't move because a suppressing pressure stronger than Han Fei appeared here. Han Fei said, open your minds when I tell you to. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't kill you. Who are you? An immortal-level cultivator spoke, but Han Fei slapped him in the next moment, shattering him. Who am I? Why don't you even know me? How do you have the cheek to ask me who I am? Hiss. Of course, many people here recognized Han Fei. Although they had never seen him in person, they had seen his portrait. However, they didn't expect Han Fei to be so violent as to crush people into pieces at the slightest disagreement. In the next moment, Han Fei said, "I'll count to 3. Whoever doesn't open his mind will be killed." Before Han Fei could count down, these people disappeared one by one. Obviously, they didn't intend to fight Han Fei head-on. Han Fei sneered. That saved him a lot of trouble. However, Han Fei didn't retract the world projection of his origin star. Instead, it grew bigger and bigger. One floating island after another was taken into Han Fei's origin star. After all, they had spent a lot of effort to build them. Wouldn't it be better to modify them and give them to the human race for use? As for those below the monarch realm, they didn't need to open their minds. He could forcibly collect them into his origin star. And Qiu Wanman's main task was to break the layers of defense seals of the heaven-concealing divine race. The 3 barriers had been broken, and in the second barrier, everyone seemed to be frozen and couldn't move at all. A god could crush these ordinary people with his suppressing pressure, or he could use his suppressing pressure to suppress these people without making them feel extreme pain. Therefore, if a god attacked ordinary people, there was basically no way for them to escape. As for Han Fei, he was only responsible for reaching out and taking these people crazily. The sea establishers and sky openers who were rooted to the ground were full of fear. They could only see that one void hand after another directly pulled away their floating islands and stuffed them into an unknown world projection. In the blink of an eye, they had already appeared in another domain. If there were only hundreds of floating islands in the second level of the barrier, there were nearly 1,000 floating islands in the first level. These floating islands were all ordinary people below the sea establishment realm. But no matter how ordinary they were, their bloodline was not ordinary. Once they grew up and had a chance to enter the second level of the barrier, they would become a qualified member of the heaven-concealing divine race. Therefore, although Han Fei wouldn't kill these people, he would sell them. After removing the inherited power in their bloodline. In the avalanche, not a single snowflake was innocent. Han Fei couldn't care less about their future fate, just like when the human race declined, no one cared about the human race. After performing the miracle of holding the floating island with a hand in front of countless ordinary people, less than 15 minutes had passed since Han Fei took action. A large force with a population of nearly 1 billion was uprooted without a single person left. After collecting all the floating islands, Han Fei strolled to the 3 great monarchs. He said, "Unfortunately, my origin star can't take you away. My creation, divine prison, doesn't need nameless people." With that, Han Fei raised his hand, and a law of time circulated around him, turning into a huge sky curtain mirror. Han Fei tidied his clothes, put on a brilliant smile, aimed at the time mirror, and said with a smile, "I am human Emperor Han Fei. This is the first time I've come to the Central Sea Divine Realm. Although the time is short, I'm here after all. Since I'm here, I have to leave something behind. Well, let me give you fireworks. I look forward to the next time I come." Rumble. 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 At that moment, the 3 great monarchs bloomed in the void. The heavenly Tao rumbled, cracks spread across the Central Sea Divine Realm, and a rain of blood fell. What happened? The sign of death of great monarchs? 3 great monarchs have died in a row. Who dares to cause trouble in the Central Sea Divine Realm? At that moment, the entire Central Sea Divine Realm was shocked. Countless people looked up, but they didn't know what had happened. About 100 seconds later, several figures appeared in a row in the spatial rift where the heaven-concealing divine race was. However, this place was already empty. There was only a dilapidated floating island that had already disintegrated. Rocks flew everywhere in a mess. Apart from the rocks, there was only a time mark left. On it, Han Fei was repeating what he had just said. On the time mark, like water ripples, Han Fei was smiling and staring at someone on the opposite side. Gradually, 1, 2, 3. When more than a dozen people gathered and looked at the time mark, they didn't look too good. A man in simple green clothes walked over from the void. He reached out and gently wiped it, and the time mark shattered and dissipated. These people were naturally the gods of the Central Sea Divine Realm. They never expected that a mere human emperor would dare to threaten the entire Central Sea Divine Realm. Someone said coldly, "Everyone, Han Fei is so arrogant and despotic that he had even uprooted the foundation of the heaven-concealing divine race. He's showing off and provoking us. What do you think?" Someone said, "Does this kid really think that with the protection of East Marshall, the demon god, and the hidden monarch city, his human race can be safe?" A goddess replied coldly, "And a new god, Li Tiangan. He's probably trying to distract us and help the West Wilderness out." Someone sneered. "He thinks this can anger us? If we really go to the human race at this moment, we'll be walking into his trap, and a war will immediately break out in the West Wilderness. There's only one possibility that makes this guy so confident, which is that he can still use the void mark." Someone said indifferently, "There's a lot of divine power left here. A god on the path of extreme Tao soul refining once descended. Bailey Qingfeng must have been defeated by that god, but he didn't die. We can't see how he left. Obviously, Bailey Qingfeng was taken into the creation divine prison. And Han Fei could only leave the ferocious God Valley in one way, the distanceless gate." Everyone nodded. In the end, the man in quaint green clothes said leisurely, "The more this is the case, the more it means that the people in the West Wilderness are forced too much, and Han Fei can't find a chance to take action. As for the heaven-concealing divine race, it's indeed unexpected this time. However, this kind of thing can't happen again. Everyone, if your sect encounters this change too, don't fight them immediately. Send a message to me first. I want to see if he dares to come a second time." Everyone was slightly relieved. They were relieved to hear that. As for the heaven-concealing divine race, they had indeed been taken this time, but there was nothing they could do, and they could only admit defeat. Of course, they weren't very angry. The heaven-concealing divine race had never been likable. It was good that they were gone. On this side, Han Fei came directly to the ferocious God Valley through the distanceless gate. At this moment, he no longer cared if he hid his identity or not, or even if he used the distanceless gate. There would definitely be a battle between the Central Sea Divine Realm and the other 4 divine realms. Because he wanted to restore the bloodline of the divine descendants, he had become their mortal enemy. What was there to worry about? The death of the great monarch spread throughout the sea realm, and the people of the ferocious God Valley naturally learned of it too. At this moment, Han Fei's sudden appearance immediately attracted the attention of some people. Han Fei waved his hand, and 3 silver masks and a golden mask appeared. Beside him, Han Fei took out 4 spears and lined them up, hanging the 4 masks on the spears. The guards of the ferocious God Valley were dumbfounded. They naturally knew this person, but why was this person outside the ferocious God Valley? How dare he walk out of the ferocious God Valley? Also, what the hell were the 4 masks? In the next moment, with a thought from Han Fei, the phantom of a world appeared, and 3 spears dozens of feet long appeared. And on each spear, there was a string of people. There were a total of 12 people at the immortal level, 27 at the carefree level, and 19 at the Tao proving level. This number was already comparable to a force like the heavenly race. But at this moment, these powerhouses were skewered on Han Fei's spears and hung high in the sky, which was shocking. Han Fei pointed at the 4 masks, and his voice swept across the entire ferocious God Valley. From today on, the heaven-concealing divine race is gone. This is the patriarch and 3 great monarchs of the heaven-concealing divine race. Perhaps there are some people missing. I'll catch them all when I have a chance in the future. With that, Han Fei looked at the 3 spears and swaggered into the ferocious God Valley. The guards didn't dare to make a sound. This person was really arrogant. Last time, he only carried 1 spear, but this time, he directly carried 3. Thinking of the astronomical phenomena of the death of great monarchs just now, who couldn't guess what happened? Entering the ferocious God Valley, Han Fei casually threw a refined star to a dragon master, who walked out trembling and followed Han Fei respectfully. This master didn't even bother to hide his identity now? Han Fei said, "Take me to the Rock Dragon auction house." Yes, Master Human Emperor. At this moment, the ferocious God Valley was in an uproar. A big bandit was lost for words. This lunatic, won't this cause a war between gods in advance? The 3 leaders of the 3 top bandits of the West Wilderness seemed to have disappeared at this moment. However, many strong masters of the 3 top bandits had gathered in the ferocious God Valley. At this moment, they had extremely complicated emotions. They were shocked. But they also admired, and even worshipped Han Fei. It felt as if they had robbed for their entire lives for nothing. And this person seemed to be the real bandit. He didn't even bother to rob in the West Wilderness, but went to the Central Sea Divine Realm to rob a divine race. They had never thought of such crazy behavior. In the ferocious God Valley, a middle-aged man who was among the crowd couldn't help but rub his eyebrows, seeming very depressed. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have taken this guy in. I would have been played to death by him sooner or later. Yes, this person was the bandit god. The mysterious guardian of the ferocious God Valley usually pretended to be an ordinary person and hid in the ferocious God Valley. At this moment, everyone in the ferocious God Valley was excited, although they were puzzled. Han Fei had just returned from the primordial tower. How many days had it been? He had already gone to the Central Sea Divine Realm and returned safely. Someone cursed, didn't he say that he would focus on breaking the records within 1,000 years? What a sheer lie. In the waiting for someone tavern, many people were cursing. Han Fei's words were still ringing in their ears. Chu Hao had been holding his wine cup for quite a while and looked stunned. Looking at the diners who rushed out of the tavern excitedly, he was a little confused. When did this guy have such an ability? Didn't this mean that he couldn't even beat this guy now? When Yulinka saw this scene, she was also a little stunned, but then she came back to herself and muttered to herself, this one is even more troublesome than Lei Heng. In the ferocious God Valley, the rock dragon that Han Fei was riding had countless people following behind it. On both sides of the road, vast teams spontaneously formed, all of whom were here to observe the strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race. The Dragon Master, who was randomly chosen by Han Fei, was glowing with pride. He felt that he was going to make a fortune. He had made a name. In the future, the fee for his rock dragon had to be doubled, or it would be a disgrace to the Human Emperor. The Human Emperor is awesome. Master Human Emperor, are you going to establish a bandit organization? I'm willing to follow you. Me too. Master Human Emperor, why are these people all wearing masks? Han Fei replied with a smile, the heaven-concealing divine race has no name. Since the Sea Establishment realm, they only have masks and serial numbers. Only when they leave the heaven-concealing divine race will they disguise themselves as someone. Master Human Emperor, how did you enter the heaven-concealing divine race? Han Fei said, I can't tell you, and I don't recommend others to do that. Master Human Emperor, are you going to auction these strong masters? Han Fei smiled and said, of course, but not now. Master Human Emperor. Everyone kept asking questions, and Han Fei could only answer them selectively. When Han Fei came to the Rock Dragon auction house, Li Yan, Long Yan, and everyone in the Rock Dragon auction house were all waiting here. There were a total of 500 people. Li Yan's legs were trembling slightly, so were his hands. The moment Han Fei made it clear that he was coming to the Rock Dragon auction house, he had already begun to prepare. It seemed that Han Fei only trusted his Rock Dragon auction house. He had never seen such a huge deal in his life, let alone taken it. As for Long Yan, her face was full of excitement. Her eyes were full of money. And she felt that she was going to make a fortune. When Han Fei came to the Rock Dragon auction house, in addition to Li Yan and the others, there were already countless strong masters waiting here. Han Fei nodded slightly at everyone. Then, his voice spread throughout the ferocious God Valley again. Everyone, I am Human Emperor Han Fei. As everyone knows, the heaven-concealing divine race is famous for their concealment technique and has brought a lot of trouble to many forces. I'm in a good mood today, so I went to the Central Sea Divine Realm to eliminate this cancer of the Sea Realm in one fell swoop. Okay. The Human Emperor is awesome. Amidst the clamor, Han Fei raised his hand and stabbed the 3 spears in his hand into the entrance of the Rock Dragon auction house. Then, he said, these are all the monarchs of the heaven-concealing divine race. I will put them here for 3 years. I want everyone to know that I will destroy those hypocritical big clans in the Central Sea Divine Realm one by one. Countless people looked at Han Fei with admiration. These words were too arrogant, but they liked them. The West Wilderness and the Central Sea Divine Realm were on opposite sides in the first place. There were many battles between the two sides. Now that such a person stood up and said that he wanted to destroy the Central Sea Divine Realm, whether it would work or not, they liked it. Han Fei shouted, in addition, I went to the Central Sea Divine Realm this time not just to capture these dozens of monarchs. I brought back all the billions of people of the heaven-concealing divine race. I'll strip the bloodline inheritance of the heaven-concealing divine race and let them experience the pain of the divine descendants. What? 1 billion people? Hiss. Does Human Emperor mean that he has taken the entire divine race? I have nothing to say. Someone said in a low voice, is this really okay? Many of the people are only ordinary people, right? Someone cursed, ordinary people? They are enemies who are still weak for now. If you don't know how to speak, don't. That's right. Did Master Human Emperor say to kill them? No, look at this place again. This is an auction house. These people will definitely be auctioned instead of killed. Someone was puzzled. But why will people buy the ordinary people of the heaven-concealing divine race? For a moment, everyone fell into deep thought. That's right. What was the use of these people? Han Fei didn't know either. He just took them back. Because he felt that even if he couldn't see any use for them, others should be able to use them, right? These people were just taken by the way, so he didn't care at all. Many big shots in the arena shouted, Human Emperor, why don't you sell them now? Why wait 3 years? Han Fei smiled and said, everyone, as I said, I'm going to strip them of their bloodline inheritance first and let them experience the pain of the divine descendants. It's only 3 years. It'll be very fast. Many people were shocked to hear that Han Fei could strip others of their bloodline inheritance? What kind of method was this? A great monarch laughed. In that case, their price will come down. Han Fei said, it doesn't matter. I'll just take it as revenge for the divine descendants. I don't care about the money. Heh. In the waiting for someone tavern, Yulinka and Chu Hao both sneered. You don't care about money? Who asked to borrow money from us? However, the two of them immediately put on a smile, because Han Fei had said something that touched their hearts, which was to let these people experience the pain of the divine descendants. Ordinary people wouldn't understand that kind of experience at all. After Han Fei dealt with everyone, he set up layers of seals at the entrance of the Rock Dragon auction house. Li Yan stood behind Han Fei with a stiff smile, sweating profusely. Then, Han Fei patted Li Yan's shoulder and said, help me keep an eye on them. I won't mistreat you. Yes, Master Human Emperor, I must watch them personally every day. Han Fei nodded slightly, looked around, and cupped his hands. Everyone, I have to cultivate in seclusion. I still have to break the records. Alas, I'm too busy. Everyone. Many people were speechless. What kind of record do you want to break? If it was a robbery record, you would have surpassed the 3 top bandits of the West Wilderness. Waiting for someone tavern. When Han Fei returned, the shop was empty except for Chu Hao, who was drinking. Han Fei asked in surprise, why is there no person here? Chu Hao chuckled. I'm not a person? Those guys went to see you and those captives. By the way, is the distanceless gate so unreliable now? Han Fei said, what are you talking about? I share the same goal as the distanceless gate. We're both fighting for a better tomorrow for the myriad races. Besides, I went to rob the heaven-concealing divine race for your divine descendants. Yulinka asked, do you have a way to deprive the heaven-concealing divine race of their bloodline inheritance? Han Fei shrugged. I don't, but your ancestors do. Do you think there is no one guarding the bloodline of divine descendants in the creation divine prison? Buzz. Yulinka and Chu Hao were both stunned, their eyes shining. It was great news that the divine descendants still had ancestors alive. This meant that there was another layer of guarantee for the divine descendants. Return to their former glory. Overjoyed, Yulinka quickly returned to normal and said indifferently, "If you want to cultivate in seclusion, go to the second floor yourself." Hanfei nodded and went to the second floor. He was indeed going to cultivate in seclusion. He had just run back and hadn't counted the spoils of war. After all, this was the only trip to the Central Sea Divine Realm. If he went there again, it wouldn't be robbery, but suicide. In Han Fei's origin star, everyone from the heaven-concealing divine race was trapped in an area by Han Fei. Their floating islands had all been taken away by Han Fei. Everyone stood alone on the ground, enjoying the double-time flow and the bare land without any spiritual energy. 3 days later, Han Fei finally finished counting the floating islands and the various treasure houses. It seemed to be a lot in total, but in addition to looting almost 100,000 refined stars and the resources almost equivalent to 300,000 refined stars, although there were a lot of things left, they couldn't be sold for money at all. After all, those things were for low-level cultivators to use, so no matter how much there was, it was worthless. Han Fei estimated that if he sold all the more than 1,500 floating islands, he could make some money. However, it was clearly better to give these things to the human race for use. Those basic things were urgently needed by the current human race. Although he was short of money, he didn't need to rely on these to make money. Therefore, from the 1,530 floating islands, Han Fei only looted 400,000 refined stars. Then, Han Fei took out the remains of the 3 dead great monarchs and went to their refined stars through the flesh and blood. It took him about a month to refine the other party's refined stars. The only benefit was that he was also a great monarch now. The speed at which he refined these stars was very fast. In just a month, he finished refining them. Apart from those refined stars that were not high-level enough and could be given to the human race, he had collected 340,000 usable refined stars in total. In addition to the 3 dead great monarchs, Bailey Qiantu was imprisoned in the monarch's jail, and Bailey Qingfeng was also imprisoned. Han Fei had never been to the origin star of a god, so he didn't know what he would gain. Buzz. Han Fei entered the creation divine prison and came directly to the cage where Bailey Qiantu was. At this moment, in the cage, under the burning of the hellfire, Bailey Qiantu actually didn't make a sound. Occasionally, whips would descend, making his body tremble. Han Fei walked into Bailey Qiantu's cage and said with a smile, as expected of the patriarch of the heavenly concealed divine race, "Your endurance is beyond ordinary people's reach." The moment Bailey Qiantu saw Han Fei come in, his heart sank. Did this guy manage to escape from the Central Sea Divine Realm? Unfortunately, all the strong masters of the Central Sea Divine Realm were around, but no one stopped him. Was it because they couldn't stop him or didn't want to? Humph. Bailey Qiantu snorted and ignored Han Fei. Han Fei, on the other hand, suddenly activated his original Great Tao. His strength rose to the extreme, and he suddenly attacked Bailey Qiantu. Although Bailey Qiantu was trapped here, his combat power wasn't gone. Unfortunately, he was limited by the hellfire and couldn't exert his full combat power. In a moment, Han Fei and Bailey Qiantu had fought fiercely for nearly 10,000 rounds. Finally, with his full strength, Han Fei managed to suppress Bailey Qiantu. This made him sigh in his heart. This guy was indeed a peak-level extreme Tao. Great monarch. If it weren't for his sneak attack before, he might not have been able to take him down. For example, at this moment, when Bailey Chanta fought him under the burning of the hellfire, he could only exert 80% of his strength. However, he still felt that he was evenly matched and couldn't suppress Bailey Chantu. This meant that a peak-level extreme Tao Great Monarch was still stronger than him. However, Bailey Chantu couldn't unleash his full combat power in the end. At this moment, a broken hand was grabbed by Han Fei. Han Fei smiled and said, "I'll take your origin star." "Well, you're already a great monarch. You can live without your origin star, right?" Roar. Bailey Chantu rushed at Han Fei crazily, but Han Fei had already stepped out of the prison. "Han Fei, if the gods of our race find out what you did today, they will definitely tear you into pieces." Han Fei said lazily, "You and Bailey Qingfeng are talking the same nonsense. Don't worry. They don't have to come to me. If there's a chance in the future, I'll kill your gods." Han Fei said lazily, "You and Bailey Qingfeng are talking the same nonsense. Don't worry. They don't have to come to me. If there's a chance in the future, I'll kill your gods." Han Fei walked lazily in the monarch's jail. At this moment, there were still 4 people suppressed in the prison. Except for Si Hongya, the other 3 were all from the Central Sea Divine Realm. At this moment, they didn't speak. It was so quiet as if they were air. They had just heard what Han Fei and Bailey Chanta said. Because in the Creation Divine Prison, they couldn't be connected to their origin stars. Han Fei wanted to refine Bailey Chantu's origin star into resources. In the Great Monarch realm, although they had to have origin stars, they had spent a lot of effort to build their origin stars after all. Furthermore, their origin stars could feed them a lot of power every day, which was the foundation of Great Monarch's enduring combat power. Besides, in the Great Monarch realm, most of one's soul had turned into the law of the heavenly Tao of his origin star, and some world origin had even been born in his origin star. Once Han Fei took it away, even if he didn't die, his strength would be greatly reduced by 30%, and he would never be able to become a god. However, they pretended to be air, not real air. When Han Fei passed by the sword cultivator from the heaven-worshipping palace, he hesitated for a moment, and then walked past it. However, when it came to the next prison, he walked in without hesitation. Immediately, the great monarch in the prison said, "Now that I'm trapped in the Creation Divine Prison, I can fight for you. Only with my origin star can I help you better." Kiki. Han Fei chuckled. "Unfortunately, I don't need your help. You are too weak." "Ah." Han Fei tore off one of his arms and walked out of the prison. Then, in the next room, he also took off an arm. In the end, when he came to see Hongya's prison, Han Fei said, "Are you going to give it to me, or should I take it?" Si Hongya had been burned by hellfire for decades, and was about to go crazy. Her hair was disheveled and she looked at Han Fei coldly. Han Fei looked at her with a smile. "Take it." Si Hongya flicked her finger, and a mass of essence blood flew to Han Fei. Han Fei reached out and grabbed it, then said casually, "Right choice." After taking the flesh and blood of 4 great monarchs in a row, Han Fei estimated that he could earn more than 400,000 refined stars. Although this was a huge loss for the great monarchs, they were his enemies. Han Fei was about to go to the next floor of the Creation Divine Prison when he heard Tan Jian, a sword cultivator from the heaven-worshipping palace, ask, "Why do you not take my flesh and blood?" Without looking back or stopping, Han Fei said lazily, "Your crime is the least serious. I will give you a chance to get out." Tan Jian was silent and sighed in his heart. Now that he thought about it, maybe the Central Sea Divine Realm had really decayed. Arriving at the second floor of the Creation Divine Prison, Han Fei saw Bailey Qing Feng locked in midair by chains. The law enforcement divine whip happened to whip him. Han Fei only felt a large amount of the power of laws penetrate Bailey Qing Feng, but the ordinary creatures in the sea were completely fine. The control of this power amazed Han Fei. Qiu Wanren, on the other hand, was sitting on the sea, surrounded by millions of blood beads. These blood beads were disassembled and fused by themselves. Han Fei asked, "Elder Qiu, are you busy studying something?" Qiu Wanren said, "Isn't that obvious? We agreed on 3 years. I've just started." "Why are you here?" Han Fei asked. "Well, can you tear some flesh and blood from Bailey Qingfeng?" Qiu Wanren couldn't help but look at Han Fei. "Do you want to go to his origin star?" Han Fei nodded. It wasn't easy to catch a god. God knew how many resources were waiting for him. It would be a waste not to take them. Qiu Wanren said, "Can't you cut off a piece of flesh yourself?" Han Fei said, "If I take action, all the fish and shrimp here might die." Immediately, Qiu Wanren stopped studying and nodded slightly. "That's true. The small fish and shrimp here can't withstand your torture. Let me do it." Qiu Wanren reached out and flicked his finger. Bailey Qingfeng glared at him. But a wisp of soul was extracted from his body. Qiu Wanren said, "By the way, let me remind you that the cultivator of soul extreme Tao can absorb the soul at will. However, you have the demon purification pot, so you're not afraid of this. Soul cultivators may not be as strong as body cultivators in head-on combat, but their area of effect combat power exceeds body cultivators." Qiu Wanren removed a wisp of Bailey Qingfeng's soul so easily and refined his spiritual will in an instant, leaving only the ownerless remnant soul. This was the first time Han Fei had seen such a means. Han Fei said, "Thank you for your guidance, senior. Take your time to study it. I'm leaving." 2 months later, Han Fei obtained 480,000 refined stars from the origin stars of the 4 great monarchs. Among them, Bailey Qian had the most, totaling 170,000. At the same time, Han Fei gave the refined stars of the heaven concealing divine race to Han Yu. Otherwise, it would occupy a lot of space if he left it on his origin star. On this day, after Han Fei found Bailey Qingfeng's origin star with the vast ocean navigator, he came in and was immediately stunned. This was clearly a galaxy. Yes, the coverage of this huge galaxy seemed to be too large. Han Fei scanned it with his perception and found that there were as many as 30 million stars. However, not all of these 30 million stars were qualified refined stars. Among them, there were many ordinary stars and dead stars. They formed a certain coordinated relationship, like a spiral formed by 30 million stars. Among them, there were nearly 1 million refined stars that met the standard he needed. From this, it could be seen that the difference between gods and great monarchs was really huge. A god wasn't someone that a great monarch could cross realms to challenge casually. After all, his realm was higher than yours, he had more resources than you, had deeper insights than you, had cultivated longer than you, and surpassed you in every aspect. How could he be weaker than a great monarch? How rich? Apart from this galaxy, Han Fei found a mutated fluid life form on his origin star. Information popped up in front of him. Name: all fusion fluid. Introduction: a magical liquid creature with consciousness and divinity that has fused with the consciousness and vitality of the heavenly Tao and can change and extend. This creature can transform into any form and simulate sound, body, breath, luck, suppressing pressure, great Tao, and all other powers that might exist in the natural world. In addition to the ability to change, all fusion fluid has devouring and unstable characteristics. After swallowing each other, all fusion fluid has a certain chance to evolve. Level 109. Realm: Sky Opening Realm. Battle techniques: unknown. Collectible: none. Unabsorbable. Deduced: this thing is actually a kind of life form? In Bailey Qingfeng's origin star, there was a large area full of this kind of fluid life form. When Han Fei grabbed a mass of all fusion fluid, countless all fusion fluid turned into Han Fei's appearance in unison. They all looked at Han Fei curiously, curious about this person who had never appeared here. This feeling was very strange. As an independent life form, no matter how strange it looked, it was still a life form. Han Fei came to harvest the origin star of the god, but he didn't have to kill all the creatures here. Besides, the characteristics of the all-fusion fluid were too similar to the heaven-concealing divine technique. If this was a life form created by Bailey Qingfeng himself, was there a possibility of further evolution of this life form? After all, for the first time, Han Fei saw a life form that could continue to be deduced. Of course, he wouldn't deduce this thing now, because he didn't know how many resources it would take to deduce it. After all, this was a new life race. If he wanted to strengthen these life races, the consumption would probably not be small. Han Fei simply put all the all-fusion fluid into his own origin star. When he had enough resources in the future, he would try deducing this thing. Perhaps he would have a chance to improve the divine concealment technique. After all, divine concealment technique had been deduced to the end and could no longer be deduced. In the end, Han Fei stayed here for nearly a year before he managed to collect all the resources in the origin star of this god. He obtained a total of 1.02 million refined stars. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, robbery was the fastest way to earn money. The refined stars he obtained from the sneak attack on the heaven concealing divine race alone had reached 2.05 million. In addition to the origin stars of the three monarchs in the creation divine prison and the ones he already had, there were a total of 2.25 million refined stars. If he guessed right, this amount of resources should be enough for him to completely fuse with his origin star. Besides, this didn't include the strong masters who were about to be auctioned. If they could get the same high price as before, they should be able to obtain another hundreds of thousands of refined stars. Han Fei was about to return to his origin star to cultivate when he heard Senior Sister Shunli's voice transmission in his mind. Unknowingly, it was time for a gathering again. As it happened, this was a 100-year gathering. Although everyone came to the last impromptu gathering, it was only temporary and was held by Senior Sister Shunlu. In fact, this time was a regular 100-year gathering. Buzz. The bronze door appeared, and Han Fei stepped in with a smile. Void Temple. Huh? Little junior brother, you haven't been coming often recently. It was Senior Sister Red Lotus who spoke. She and Senior Sister Green Lotus came the fastest. Han Fei smiled and said, "Senior sister, I've been too busy recently and missed the time of gathering." Without eldest senior brother, Han Fei had thought that senior sister Shenlu would have nowhere to stand and would fly in the sky. Unexpectedly, senior sister Shenlu had found a huge pillar somewhere and stood on it. At this moment, there was a faint killing intent transmitted through the void mist, giving him a strange feeling. Han Fei said, "Greetings, senior sister Shenlu." "Senior sister Shenlu, is this pillar a weapon? It seems to be very murderous." Senior sister Shenlu said lazily, "Oh. Yes. I just had a fight, so there was a strong smell of blood up there. I just stood on it temporarily." At this moment, everyone arrived one after another. As soon as Lei Heng appeared, he shouted, "Little junior brother, you attacked fast enough. You actually wiped out the heaven-concealing divine race and fought a god?" As soon as Feng Yu came in, she heard the shocking news and immediately shouted, "Wow! Little junior brother, you can fight a god now?" Han Fei smiled and said, "No, I can't fight a god now. It's someone else." Senior brother Azure Dragon appeared. "Little junior brother, why haven't you come to my dragon race yet? If you come in more than 200 years, you might not be able to see me." Han Fei cupped his hands. "Senior brother Azure Dragon, I'm too busy here. However, will it take me time to bathe in the dragon pool?" Senior brother Azure Dragon, 100 years at most. 100 years? Han Fei thought to himself, I only have 1,000 years in total. It's been 50 years. It will take me at least 100 years to cultivate in seclusion. It seems that after this seclusion, I have to go to the dragon race immediately.